The night has arrived, settling around you like a heavy velvet blanket, soft and cool against your skin. It is time to let go of the day, to unspool the tight threads of worry and responsibility that have bound you to the waking world. Here, in this safe and quiet space, there is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, and no one who needs anything from you. The demands of the sun have set, replaced by the infinite, patient invitation of the stars. Close your eyes and feel the weight of your body sinking deeper into the mattress, as if gravity itself is giving you a gentle hug, pulling you down into a state of perfect rest. Breathe in slowly, filling your lungs with the cool, calm air of the night, and as you exhale, imagine a grey mist leaving your lips, carrying away every tension, every thought, every lingering question. Watch that mist dissolve into the darkness, gone forever. You are anchored here, safe, warm, and protected, yet your mind is free to float. Imagine that the ceiling above you dissolves, melting away to reveal the true ceiling of our existence, the vast, glittering expanse of the cosmos. It is not empty, it is full of stories, full of peace, and full of a silence so deep it heals the soul. We're going to drift through this expanse together, floating on a river of starlight, observing the wonders of the universe not with the analytical mind of a scientist, but with the dreamy, drifting heart of a traveller. Let your breathing slow down to match the slow, rhythmic rotation of the galaxy. Deep, slow, and steady. You're ready to dream. You're ready to float among the stars. As we lift gently from the surface of the Earth, rising through the layers of clouds and atmosphere, the first thing that greets us is the profound, enveloping silence. In our daily lives, we're surrounded by vibration, the hum of electricity, the murmur of voices, the rustle of wind. But here, in the vast vacuum between the worlds, sound cannot travel. Sound requires a medium, a substance to move through, like air or water. But space is a near-perfect vacuum, a vast ocean of emptiness where molecules are so far apart they rarely touch. This means that space is the library of absolute silence. Imagine floating in this void. It is not a lonely silence, but a peaceful one. It is the silence of a heavy snowfall at midnight, multiplied by infinity. If two stars were to collide 1,000,000 miles away, a cataclysm of unimaginable power, you would hear nothing. You would only see the silent bloom of light. This silence wraps around you like a cocoon, insulating you from the chaos. It is a sensory deprivation tank on a galactic scale, allowing your mind to expand without distraction. Feel this silence permeating your thoughts, quieting the internal chatter. In this space, there is no noise to jar you, no sudden sounds to wake you. There is only the velvet quiet, a stillness that has existed for billions of years, waiting to cradle you in its soundless arms. It is a silence so thick, so pure, that it feels like a physical presence, a soothing balm that smooths out the rough edges of your consciousness. Drifting through this perfect quiet, we turn our gaze toward the warm, glowing anchor of our own neighbourhood in the sky. Dominating the view is the sun, a sphere of roiling golden plasma so massive that it defies human comprehension. To understand the scale of this celestial hearth, picture the entire solar system as a grand collection of objects, all the planets, from the swift Mercury to the distant Neptune, all the asteroids, the comets, the moons, and the dust. If you were to gather all of that mass together, every single scrap of matter that orbits our star, and placed it on a cosmic scale, it would be nothing but a feather compared to the sun itself. The sun contains 99.8% of the total mass of the entire solar system. Everything else, the Earth we live on, the gas giants like Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, is merely the leftover crumbs, the tiny 0.2% of dust that didn't make it into the star. Imagine a giant bowling ball sitting in the centre of a room, and everything else, all the planets combined, amounting to no more than a pinch of sand scattered around it. This immense gravity is what holds us safe. It is the invisible hand that keeps the Earth from drifting away into the cold dark. It is a comforting thought, realizing that we are tethered to such a massive, stable presence. The sun is not just a light, it is the great shepherd, holding its flock together through the sheer power of its being, a golden heart beating at the center of our lives, heavy, constant, and enduring. Leaving the warmth of our local star, we float further out, seeking objects that defy the logic of size and weight. We find ourselves drifting toward the remnants of ancient stars, things known as neutron stars. These are the ghosts of massive suns that have collapsed in on themselves, crushing their own cores with such violence that protons and electrons merge to form neutrons. The result is an object of terrifying, beautiful density. Imagine a city the size of Manhattan or London. Now, imagine compressing the mass of our sun, that same giant we just visualized, into a sphere that is only as wide as that city. The density here is so extreme that it bends the mind. If you were to reach out with a cosmic spoon and scoop up just a teaspoon of matter from a neutron star, just a tiny mound of this stellar material, it would not weigh an ounce or a pound. That single teaspoon would weigh as much as a mountain on Earth, billions of tons in the palm of your hand. Picture a sugar cube made of this material. If you dropped it on the ground, it wouldn't just sit there. It would punch through the crust of the Earth as if the rock were made of tissue paper, plummeting straight to the core. This is the heaviness of the cosmos, the grounding stability of the universe. It reminds us that size is an illusion, and true power, true weight, is often found in the smallest, most compact things. It is a heavy, blanket-like feeling, a reminder of the deep, crushing gravity that creates the jewels of the night sky. From this heaviness, we allow ourselves to drift into a lighter, more sensory experience, moving toward the center of our own galaxy, the Milky Way. We often think of space as sterile and odorless, a place of cold metal and rock, but the universe is a chemist, constantly mixing elements in the vast laboratories of interstellar clouds. If you could float through the massive dust cloud known as Sagittarius B2, located near the center of our galaxy, and if you could take a deep breath of the cosmic wind, you might be surprised by a familiar comforting sensation. Astronomers studying the light spectrum of this giant cloud have discovered it is filled with a molecule called ethyl formate. On Earth, this is the chemical responsible for the flavor of raspberries. It also carries the scent of rum. Imagine floating through a nebula that spans light years, surrounded by pink and violet mists that smell faintly of sweet fruit and warm spirits. It is a celestial cocktail, a sensory delight hidden in the darkness. Picture yourself there now, the darkness around you not cold and empty, but filled with the scent of warm sugared berries. It turns the galaxy from a distant scientific concept into a place of texture and taste. The universe, in its infinite creativity, has perfumed the stars, creating a vast, swirling orchard in the void, waiting for a traveller to drift by and inhale the sweetness of creation. Drifting away from the scent of raspberries, we catch the glint of something sparkling in the distance, a beacon of pure, refracted light. We approach a world orbiting a star in the constellation of Cancer, a planet known to astronomers as 55 Cancri E. This world is twice the size of Earth, but it is vastly different in composition. It is a world born of fire and pressure, orbiting so close to its sun that its year lasts only 18 hours. But the heat and the carbon-rich environment have created something straight out of a fairy tale. Because of the intense pressure and the abundance of carbon, scientists believe that a significant portion of this planet's mass is pure diamond. Imagine a world where the bedrock is not granite or limestone, but sparkling, translucent diamond. Picture mountains made of crystal, catching the light of the nearby star and scattering it into 1 billion rainbows. If you could stand on its surface, the ground beneath your feet would be harder than anything on Earth, a shimmering, transparent floor extending to the horizon. Deep beneath the surface, the diamond mantle wraps around the planet's core, a layer of jewels thousands of miles thick. It is a planet of luxury and stillness, a hard, glittering jewel spinning in the silence. Visualizing this sparkling sphere creates a sense of awe, a realization that the universe holds treasures beyond the wildest dreams of kings and queens, floating quietly in the dark, shining only for the stars. We leave the diamond world behind, turning our backs on the heat, and drift outward, toward the edge of interstellar space. Here, we find a tiny, man-made object, a silent ambassador from Earth that has travelled further than anything humanity has ever built. This is Voyager 1. Launched in the late 1970s, it has been drifting away from us for nearly half a century. It has passed the gas giants, past the edge of our solar system, and entered the dark, quiet ocean of interstellar space. It is so far away now that the Earth is nothing more than a pale blue dot, invisible to the naked eye. But Voyager is not just a machine, it is a message in a bottle. Bolted to its side is a golden record, a gold-plated copper disc containing sounds and images selected to portray the diversity of life and culture on Earth. It carries the sound of wind, of thunder, of birds and whales. It carries music, Bach, Beethoven, Chuck Berry, and greetings in 55 ancient and modern languages. Imagine this tiny metal craft, floating in the absolute silence we spoke of earlier, carrying the sound of a human heartbeat and the laughter of a child into the eternal void. It is a lonely but hopeful image, a testament to our desire to connect, to say, we were here. It drifts on the cosmic currents, a silent singer in the dark, moving ever deeper into the mystery, carrying the memory of home to the stars. As we look back from the deep void, our eyes catch the majestic silhouette of Saturn, the jewel of our solar system with its grand, sweeping rings. It appears massive, a giant of gas and ice, second only to Jupiter in size. It is a world of swirling storms and golden clouds, majestic and imposing. Yet, despite its immense size, Saturn holds a secret of lightness. It is composed primarily of hydrogen and helium, the lightest elements in the universe, and it is the least dense of all the planets. In fact, Saturn is the only planet in our solar system that is less dense than water. This leads to a beautiful, dreamlike visualization. If you could construct a bathtub colossal enough to hold it, a basin spanning hundreds of thousands of miles, and if you were to gently lower Saturn into the water, it would not sink, it would float. Like a giant golden rubber duck, this massive planet would bob on the surface. Imagine the ripples radiating out from it, the rings tilting gently as it settles into the cosmic water. It creates a feeling of buoyancy, of lightness. It reminds us that even the giants can be gentle, that massive size does not always mean heaviness. Hold this image of the floating planet in your mind, feeling your own body becoming as light as Saturn, buoyant and drifting on the surface of sleep, supported by the water of the night. From the floating giant, we turn our attention to the medium that allows us to see it, light itself. We often think of what we see as happening now in the present moment, but in the vast distances of the cosmos, the present is an illusion. Light takes time to travel. It moves fast, incredibly fast, but the distances are so great that it cannot be instant. When you look at the moon, you are seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, you are seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. If the sun were to vanish this very second, we would still feel its warmth and see its light for 8 more minutes. This means that looking up at the night sky is actually an act of time travel. You are looking into the past. When you see the nearest star to us, Proxima Centauri, you are seeing it as it was 4 years ago. The light hitting your retina left that star before you started your day, perhaps before you met your partner or started your current job. And when you look at the faint fuzzy patch of the Andromeda Galaxy, you are seeing light that has been travelling for 2.5 million years. That light began its journey before modern humans walked the Earth. It has travelled through the emptiness while ice ages came and went, while civilizations rose and fell, only to arrive at your eye tonight. The night sky is a history book, a tapestry of the past woven in light. Let this thought expand your sense of time, stretching it out, slowing it down, until the urgency of the present moment dissolves into the long, slow river of eternity. We drift closer to home now, to our own pale grey companion, the moon. It hangs in the sky, a silent watcher over the earth. Because the moon has no atmosphere, no air to hold heat or create wind, it is a place of absolute stillness. There is no weather on the moon, no rain to wash away the dust, no wind to scatter the sand. This creates a profound sense of permanence. Think of the astronauts who walked there decades ago. When they stepped off the ladder and pressed their boots into the soft grey lunar soil, they left footprints. On Earth, footprints last for a moment, washed away by the tide, blown away by the wind, or covered by new growth. But on the moon, those bootprints are still there, crisp and clear, exactly as they were the moment they were made. Unless a meteor strikes that specific spot, those footprints will remain undisturbed for millions of years. They are monuments to a fleeting moment, preserved in the vacuum. Imagine standing there, in the silence, looking down at a footprint that will outlast the pyramids, outlast the mountains of Earth. It is a testament to the stillness of space, a place where a single step is remembered forever. Let this feeling of permanence settle you, grounding you in the knowledge that some things do not fade, some things remain, quiet and eternal. Finally, we drift away from the grey stillness of the moon toward a place of vibrant, colourful birth. We move toward the nebulae, the stellar nurseries of the cosmos. These are vast glowing clouds of gas and dust, light years across, where new stars are being born. They are the most beautiful objects in the universe, painted in hues of deep red, shocking blue and vibrant purple. Imagine floating into the Orion Nebula. It is not dark here, it is a cavern of light. Great pillars of dust, trillions of miles high, stand like sculptures in the void. Inside these pillars, gravity is pulling clumps of dust together, spinning them faster and faster, heating them up until, flash, a new star ignites. It is a cosmic womb, a place where the universe renews itself. These clouds are the fabric from which we are all made. The atoms in your body, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, they were all forged in places like this, in the hearts of stars that were born in these colourful clouds. You are not separate from this scene. You are part of it. You are made of stardust. Floating through this nursery, surrounded by the soft glow of creation, you feel a connection to the very beginning of time. It is a place of potential, of beginning, of soft, warm light wrapping around you as you drift deeper into the dream. From that glowing nursery where stars are born, we carry the warmth of creation with us as we drift further outward, pushing against the very boundaries of what is known. As we float through the velvet darkness, we come to understand that our vision has a limit, a horizon line in the deep ocean of space. Just as a sailor standing on the deck of a ship can only see as far as the curve of the Earth allows, we can only see as far as light has travelled since the beginning of time. We call this the observable universe. It is a bubble of reality, a sphere of light stretching billions of light years in every direction, with you at the very centre. Beyond this edge, there is not emptiness, but simply more galaxies, more stars, more silence, hidden behind the curtain of distance. Imagine standing at the edge of a foggy coastline, hearing the waves of an unseen ocean breaking against the shore. You know the ocean stretches on, vast and endless, even though the mist hides it from your eyes. The cosmos is the same. We're floating in a bubble of light, surrounded by an infinite ocean of mystery that we can never touch, yet we know it is there. There is a comfort in this limitation, a reminder that we do not need to know everything, see everything, or control everything. There is a vastness that belongs only to itself, a secret kept by the universe, allowing us to rest in the knowledge that some things are meant to remain beautifully unknown, wrapped in the eternal fog of the beyond. Drifting inward from the edge of sight, we begin to sense a presence that cannot be seen, a ghostly structure that holds the visible world together. We look at the spiral arms of galaxies, spinning majestically like pinwheels in the dark, and we realise they are spinning too fast. By all laws of physics, the stars should be flung out into the void, like water droplets shaken from a spinning umbrella. But they are not. They are held in place by an invisible hand, a substance we call dark matter. It is the great unseen scaffold of the cosmos, the invisible web that permeates every corner of space. Imagine a spiderweb made of glass, suspended in the night, invisible to the eye but strong enough to catch the dew. You cannot see the threads, but you can see the glistening drops of water clinging to them. In this cosmic vision, the galaxies are those dewdrops, bright and glittering, but they are resting on a vast unseen network that gives the universe its shape. It is a comforting thought to know that even in the emptiness there is structure. We are supported by forces we cannot see, cradled by a gravity that makes no sound and casts no shadow. This invisible blanket accounts for most of the matter in the universe, a silent giant that demands no attention but does the heavy lifting of keeping our reality intact. Feel that invisible support now, like a firm mattress beneath your back, holding you up, keeping you safe, ensuring that nothing drifts away before it is meant to. As we surrender to this invisible support, we feel a gentle current pulling us, a slow, majestic river of galaxies flowing through the void. We are not static. The Milky Way, along with thousands of our neighbouring galaxies, is moving. We're all sliding through the universe at incredible speeds, drawn toward a mysterious gravitational focal point known as the Great Attractor. It lies hidden behind the dust clouds of our own galaxy, a gravitational anomaly of immense power that is sipping galaxies toward it like leaves floating down a stream. Picture yourself lying on a raft, drifting down a wide, lazy river on a warm afternoon. You don't need to paddle. The current takes you. You look up at the sky, watching the clouds pass, feeling the gentle tug of the water beneath you. The entire universe is this river. We are part of a supercluster of galaxies called Laniakea, a Hawaiian word meaning immeasurable heaven. It is a web of light flowing toward that great hidden centre. There is no rush in this movement, only a slow inevitability. It creates a sense of belonging, a realization that we are part of a grand procession, a migration of light and matter moving together through the dark. Let go of your own need to steer, your own need to direct the course of your life for just a moment, and let the Great Attractor pull you along the river of the stars, drifting toward a destination that is millions of years away. Flowing with this cosmic river, we drift back toward the familiar, finding ourselves hovering above the largest planet in our solar neighbourhood, the gas giant Jupiter. As we approach, the first thing that captures our gaze is not the size of the planet itself, but the giant unblinking eye staring back at us, the Great Red Spot. This is a storm that has been raging for at least 300 years, a hurricane so massive that you could fit 3 entire Earths inside its boundaries. But from our high vantage point, floating in the silence of space, the violence of the wind is lost. We see only the beauty of the patterns. The storm is a swirling masterpiece of crimson, ochre and pale cream, spinning counterclockwise in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Imagine a cup of coffee just after you've poured in the cream, the way the white liquid swirls and folds into the dark, creating intricate marbled shapes that change by the second. Jupiter is that swirl frozen on a planetary scale. It is a storm that has become a permanent feature, a stable chaos. It teaches us that even in the midst of turbulence there is beauty, and if you pull back far enough, even the wildest storm looks like a painting. Watch the slow rotation of that great red eye, round and round, a wheel of wind that never stops, never tires, spinning in the silence of the vacuum, lulling you into a trance with its endless, circular motion. Leaving the giant behind, we drift further out to the icy reaches of the solar system, where we encounter a world that rolls rather than spins. This is Uranus, the ice giant. While other planets spin like tops, upright and proper, Uranus spins on its side, rolling along its orbital path like a ball. It is a world of pale cyan blue, a colour so cool and calming it feels like a visual sigh. This unique tilt means that for 42 years, one pole of the planet is bathed in continuous pale sunlight, while the other lies in a dark 42-year slumber. Imagine standing on the dark side of this ice world. The sun has not risen for decades, and the stars are diamond-hard points of light in a sky that never brightens. It is the ultimate winter, a deep freeze of methane ice and diamond rain. The colour of the planet comes from the methane in its atmosphere, absorbing red light and reflecting this soothing aquamarine hue. It looks like a frozen ocean suspended in the dark, smooth and featureless, a marble of pure ice. There is a deep stillness here, a sense of paused time. Drifting past it, you feel the temperature of your thoughts drop, cooling down the fever of the day, icing over the worries until they are preserved, frozen, and put away for a long, long winter's nap. From the cold stillness, we turn our minds to the concept of time itself and how it is measured by the stars. We mark our lives in years, the time it takes for the Earth to orbit the Sun. But the Sun itself is also a traveller, orbiting the centre of the Milky Way galaxy. It moves at a speed of 500,000 miles per hour, dragging the planets with it. Yet the galaxy is so vast that it takes the Sun approximately 230 million years to complete just one single orbit. We call this a galactic year. The last time the Sun was in this exact spot in the galaxy, human beings did not exist. The Earth was ruled by the very first dinosaurs. The continents were shaped differently, clumped together in the supercontinent of Pangaea. Flowers had not yet evolved. Since then, the Sun has travelled all the way around the Great Wheel of the Milky Way, watching mountains rise and fall, watching oceans open and close, watching the dinosaurs rise, reign for millions of years, and vanish, watching mammals emerge, and finally, watching you take your first breath. This is the scale of cosmic time. It stretches our perspective, making a human lifetime feel like a single, precious heartbeat. It reminds us that we are travellers on a long circular journey, passengers on a ship that sails through the eons, returning to where we began only after the world has changed completely. As we contemplate the wheel of time, we notice that not all planets are tethered to stars. Out in the deep, dark voids between the solar systems, there are wanderers. These are the rogue planets, worlds that have broken free from the gravity of their parent stars and drifted off into the interstellar night. They float alone, untethered, answering to no master, orbiting no sun. They move through the eternal twilight, dark and silent, hidden from our telescopes. You might think of them as lonely, but picture them instead as the ultimate expressions of freedom. They are the nomads of the universe, drifting wherever the gravitational currents take them. Without a sun to scorch them, they remain cool and preserved. Some scientists believe that beneath their thick, icy surfaces, these wandering worlds might hold warm oceans, heated by their own internal cores, hidden sanctuaries of water travelling through the void. Imagine being on such a world, drifting through the galaxy with no schedule, no cycles of day and night, just an endless, peaceful journey through the stars. It is a vision of perfect solitude, of being self-contained and whole, moving through the darkness with a quiet confidence, needing nothing from the outside world. We drift now toward a place that is officially the coldest known object in the universe, the Boomerang Nebula. While space is generally cold, this ghostly cloud of gas has expanded so rapidly that its temperature has dropped to 1 degree above absolute zero. It is colder than the background radiation of the universe itself. It is a place where atoms almost stop moving. In our world, heat is movement, vibrating molecules, rushing energy. But here, in the heart of this nebula, the universe is holding its breath. Visually, it appears like a ghostly bow tie, two lobes of shimmering gas reflecting the faint light of a dying star. The stillness here is profound. At absolute zero, all resistance fades. Electricity flows without hindrance. Fluids flow without friction. It is a state of perfect flow, perfect ease. Imagine your mind entering this state of cool, absolute stillness. The friction of thoughts, the heat of emotions, the vibration of anxiety, all of it slows down, slower and slower, until it reaches that near-perfect stop. You're suspended in the cool mist of the nebula, a place of supreme rest where nothing struggles, nothing fights, and everything simply is. From this deep freeze, we look back toward the warmth of the stars and notice that many of them are not alone. In fact, the majority of stars in the sky are binary systems, two stars orbiting each other in a gravitational dance. They circle a common center, bound together for billions of years. Imagine standing on a planet orbiting such a pair. As the day ends, you would not see just one sunset, but two. First, a large red sun might dip below the horizon, painting the sky in deep crimsons and purples. And then, following it, a smaller, bright white star would set, casting a final, diamond-hard glint of light before the night takes over. Or perhaps they set together, merging their colours into a twilight we can scarcely imagine on Earth. This celestial waltz speaks of companionship in the cosmos. Even the stars have partners. They balance each other, pulling and pushing in a rhythm that keeps them stable. It is a comforting duality, a reminder that the universe is built on relationships, on the interplay of forces that keep the dance going. Visualize those two suns dipping below the horizon of a distant world, bringing a double portion of rest to the land, a signal that the day is twice done and the night is twice as welcome. Finally, we drift closer to home, but we stop at the very edge of our own solar system, in a region known as the Oort cloud. This is a vast spherical shell that surrounds our sun and planets like a giant icy bubble. It is the home of the comets, the sleeping wanderers of ice and dust. It extends so far out that it is almost halfway to the next star. Here, billions of comets float in the darkness, moving so slowly they seem motionless. These are the ancient remnants of the solar system's formation, preserved in the deep freeze for 4 billion years. They are like seeds waiting for a season that may never come. Occasionally, a passing star will nudge one, sending it on a long million-year journey inward toward the sun, where it will grow a tail and become a spectacle in our skies. But for now, they sleep. They are the guardians of the edge, forming a protective cocoon around our planetary family. It is a quiet, crowded nursery of ice, a halo of potential energy resting in the dark. Picture yourself floating there, on the very perimeter of home, looking inward at the distant bright spark of the sun, and looking outward at the endless sea of stars. You're in the borderland, the quiet threshold between the known and the unknown, resting in the shell of ice that protects our little corner of the universe. Floating in this borderland of ice among the sleeping comets of the Oort cloud, we decide to follow one of these frozen wanderers as it begins a long, slow fall toward the warmth of the sun. For millions of years, this object has been nothing more than a dark, silent mountain of ice and rock, a dirty snowball suspended in the deep freeze. But as gravity gently nudges it inward, it begins a transformation that is one of the most elegant spectacles in the heavens. As it drifts closer to the inner solar system, the faint heat of the distant sun begins to wake it from its aeons-long slumber. The surface of the comet, once hard as granite, begins to soften. The ice does not melt into water, for in the vacuum of space, liquid cannot exist in the open. Instead, it sublimates. It turns instantly from solid ice into a glowing gas, releasing trapped dust and ancient particles that have been held captive since the dawn of the solar system. This gas forms a glowing halo around the comet's core, a cloudy atmosphere known as a coma. But the true magic happens when the solar wind, that invisible stream of energy from the sun, catches this gas. It pushes it outward, stretching it into a magnificent tail that can span millions of miles. Imagine a ship sailing through a dark ocean, but instead of leaving a wake in the water behind it, the wind of sunlight blows the wake out in front of it. The comet's tail always points away from the sun, regardless of which way the comet is travelling. It is a banner of light, a cosmic windsock made of glowing gas and diamond dust, streaming silently through the void, painting a brushstroke of brilliance against the black canvas of the night. As this traveller completes its journey around the sun and heads back out into the dark, it leaves behind a faint trail of debris, a river of tiny crumbs marking its path. These are the seeds of what we call meteor showers. Throughout the year, our planet Earth, in its own reliable orbit, sails through these invisible rivers of dust. When we do, these tiny particles, most no larger than a grain of sand, slam into our atmosphere at tremendous speeds. The friction is instant and intense. The grain of sand surrenders its existence in a flash of pure energy, burning up high above our heads. From the ground, lying on your back in a grassy field, you see a shooting star. It looks like a scratch of light on the dome of the sky, a fleeting moment of magic. But up here, floating in the quiet, we understand it as a silent exchange between the earth and the remnants of the deep cold. There is no sound to this destruction, only a swift, silent streak of white or green fire. It is a gentle reminder that the earth is constantly sweeping the heavens, gathering the dust of the cosmos. Every time you see that flash, you are witnessing a tiny piece of ancient history, a voyager from the edge of the solar system, ending its billion-year journey in a final glorious burst of light to grant you a wish. Not all of this cosmic dust burns up, however. Some of it remains suspended in the plane of the solar system, creating a phenomenon so subtle and ghostly that it can only be seen in the truest dark. This is the zodiacal light. If you were to stand in a lonely desert, far from the light pollution of cities just after the sun has set or just before it rises, you might see a faint triangular glow stretching up from the horizon. It looks like a false dawn, a pyramid of pearly white light reaching up toward the zenith. This is sunlight reflecting off billions of tiny dust particles that float between the planets. It is the fog of the solar system, a disk of diamond dust that scatters the sun's rays. Imagine the solar system not as empty space, but as a dusty old room where a beam of light streams through a window, illuminating the floating motes of dust in the air. That is the zodiacal light. It is a bridge of luminescence connecting the Earth to the sun, a reminder that we are swimming in a sea of ancient matter. It creates a feeling of connection, a soft, ethereal pathway that invites the eye to climb upward from the horizon, leading the mind away from the ground and back into the stars. Moving inward from the dusty trails, we drift into the region between Mars and Jupiter, a place often misunderstood as a chaotic field of danger, the asteroid belt. In movies, this is depicted as a crowded, tumbling minefield of rocks where spaceships must dodge and weave to survive. But the reality of the cosmos is far more spacious, far more serene. The asteroid belt is indeed home to millions of rocky remnants from the early solar system, but space is so unimaginably vast that these rocks are separated by hundreds of thousands of miles. If you were to stand on an asteroid in the middle of this belt, you would not see a sky filled with other rocks. You would see the same starry blackness you see from Earth. The nearest asteroid would be nothing more than a faint moving star in the distance, far too small to see with the naked eye. It is a lonely ocean of silence. The asteroids drift in solitude, tumbling slowly in the dark, rotating with a languid, heavy grace. There is no noise, no collisions, only the endless, silent orbit of millions of solitary islands. This vastness is comforting. It speaks to the immense roominess of the universe. There is space enough for everything. There is no crowding here, no rush, no bumping shoulders, just a vast, open expanse where ancient stones float in a peaceful, rhythmic procession around the sun. In the centre of this lonely sea floats the Queen of the Belt, a dwarf planet named Ceres. Unlike the jagged, potato-shaped asteroids that share its realm, Ceres is large enough that its own gravity has pulled it into a sphere. It is a round, miniature world, dark and mysterious, but it holds a secret that sparkles in the gloom. As we drift closer to its cratered surface, our eyes are drawn to a crater known as a crater. Inside this deep basin, looking like a beacon in the night, are brilliant, glowing white spots. For years, these lights puzzled astronomers. They seemed unnatural, too bright for such a dark world. We now know they're vast deposits of salt, sodium carbonate, left behind by salty water that bubbled up from beneath the crust and evaporated in the vacuum of space. Imagine a world of dark grey rock, silent and cold, where the ground occasionally weeps saltwater tears that freeze and sublime, leaving behind these shimmering crystal reflectors. They catch the weak sunlight and throw it back with a piercing intensity. It is a beautiful image, a lonely dark world holding a lamp of salt, a glittering jewel hidden in the vast emptiness of the belt. It reminds us that even in the darkest, most rock-strewn places, there is brightness waiting to be found, shining quietly for no one but the stars. Leaving the belt behind, we allow the sun's gravity to pull us further inward, until the rusty hue of Mars fills our vision. We descend slowly into the atmosphere of the red planet. Mars is a world of stillness. It is a planet that has largely gone to sleep. With an atmosphere 100 times thinner than Earth's, the sounds here are muted, ghostly whispers. There is no bustling life, no crashing ocean waves, no rustling forests. There is only the wind and the dust. The surface is covered in fine, oxidized iron dust, essentially rust, which gives the planet its signature color. This dust is as fine as talcum powder, soft and silky. Imagine walking across a vast dune field on Mars. Your boots would sink silently into the soft red powder. The landscape around you is a tableau of frozen geology, valleys and canyons carved by water that dried up billions of years ago. It is a preserved memory of a world, a fossilized landscape held in a state of suspended animation. The silence here is heavy and ancient. It is the silence of a library after closing time, the silence of an empty cathedral. It invites a deep introspection, a quieting of the soul to match the quiet of the red dunes stretching out to the horizon. As the rotation of the planet carries us toward the evening, we witness a phenomenon that turns our earthly expectations upside down. On Earth, we are used to red sunsets. The thick atmosphere scatters the blue light, letting the warm reds and oranges pass through. But on Mars, the atmosphere is thin and full of that fine, suspended dust. This dust absorbs the red light and scatters the blue. So, as the small, distant sun begins to dip below the Martian horizon, the sky does not turn fiery orange. It turns a cool, moody blue. The area around the setting sun glows with a sapphire hue, a cold, serene twilight that feels alien yet strangely calming. Imagine sitting on the rim of a crater, watching this blue halo expand, the red rocks around you darkening into purple shadows, while the sky transitions into a deep oceanic indigo. It is a reversal of everything we know, a reminder that perspective changes reality. This blue sunset is quiet, cool, and peaceful, signaling the arrival of the freezing Martian night. It is a visual lullaby, washing the red world in a soothing bath of cool light, telling the dust to settle and the winds to rest. Before the darkness takes over completely, we drift over the equator to witness the most impressive monument in the solar system, Olympus Mons. This is a volcano of such staggering proportions that it is difficult to comprehend. It stands 3 times taller than Mount Everest. Its base is so wide that it would cover the entire country of France. If you were standing on its peak, you would be technically outside of the planet's atmosphere, standing in the vacuum of space while still having your feet on the ground. But despite its size, Olympus Mons is not a jagged, angry peak. It is a shield volcano created by fluid lava flowing slowly over millions of years. Its slopes are incredibly gentle, rising gradually like a vast ramp. If you were climbing it, you might not even realize you were on a mountain. It would feel like walking up a seemingly endless, gentle hill that eventually touches the stars. Because there are no tectonic plates moving on Mars, this volcano sat over a hotspot for eons, growing taller and taller in the silence. It is a monument to patience, a slow accumulation of greatness. It stands now, extinct and silent, a giant watching over the planet, its caldera piercing the thin clouds, basking in the eternal silence of the upper atmosphere. It is a symbol of stability, a mountain that has ceased its fire and now simply exists, massive and peaceful. Leaving the red dust in the giant mountain, we float through the void toward a region of space that is not defined by a planet, but by a distance. We enter the habitable zone, often called the Goldilocks zone. This is the narrow ring around a star where the temperature is not too hot and not too cold, but just right for liquid water to exist. Closer to the sun, water boils away into steam. Further out, it freezes into rock-hard ice. But here, in this delicate orbital band, water can flow, it can ripple, it can rain, it can form oceans and tears. This zone is a concept of balance. It teaches us that life and comfort are often found in the middle ground, in the moderation between extremes. It is a sanctuary of thermal equilibrium. As we drift into this zone, we feel the harsh radiation of space softening, the extremes of fire and ice giving way to a temperate, gentle warmth. It is the cosmic equivalent of a warm bath, a safe harbour in a hostile universe. It is here that we find the blue marble of Earth, floating like a jewel, wrapped in the only liquid surface we have seen in all our travels. But being in the right place is not enough. As we approach Earth, we encounter an invisible force field that makes this safety possible. We drift through the magnetosphere. Deep inside the Earth, a core of molten iron spins and churns, generating a massive magnetic field that stretches thousands of miles out into space. You cannot see it with your eyes, but it is there, a giant invisible bubble surrounding our planet. This bubble acts as a shield. The sun is constantly shooting streams of dangerous particles, the solar wind, at us. Without the magnetosphere, these particles would strip away our atmosphere and irradiate the surface. But this magnetic shield catches them, deflects them, and guides them harmlessly around the planet. Imagine living inside a giant protective glass dome, where the storms of the universe slide off the surface, leaving the air inside still and calm. We are cradled in this magnetic embrace, protected every second of every day from forces we're not even aware of. It is a silent guardian, a force of pure protection generated by the heart of the world itself. Feel that sense of safety washing over you, the knowledge that you are shielded, covered and kept safe by the very planet you sleep on. And just as the invisible shield protects us, it occasionally reveals itself in a display of breathtaking beauty, transforming the violence of the solar wind into a silent celestial dance. We drift now to the polar regions of the Earth, hovering high above the snowy tundras of the north to witness the aurora borealis. This phenomenon is the visible signature of that magnetic embrace we just spoke of. When the charged particles from the sun strike the upper atmosphere, they are guided by the magnetic field lines toward the poles, where they collide with atoms of oxygen and nitrogen. The result is a painting made of pure light. Imagine looking down from space and seeing curtains of neon green, violet and crimson waving slowly in the dark. These are not static lights. They are alive. They fold and undulate like shimmering silk caught in a slow-motion breeze. The silence of this spectacle is profound. On the ground, the wind might be howling across the ice, but up here, the lights dance without a sound. It is a visual symphony, a cosmic ballet where energy becomes colour. The green light comes from oxygen molecules floating high above the surface, glowing with a ghostly alien warmth. To float through these curtains is to pass through the veil between the harshness of space and the safety of home. It is a reminder that even the most invisible forces, when the conditions are right, can bloom into something magnificent, turning a shield of iron and magnetism into a ribbon of emerald fire. Rising through these shimmering curtains, we ascend until the air itself begins to fade. We reach the delicate boundary that separates our world from the void, a transition zone known as the Kármán line. From the ground, the sky looks infinite, a deep, solid dome of blue. But from this vantage point hovering 62 miles up, the illusion is revealed. The atmosphere of Earth is shockingly thin. It appears as a fragile, glowing halo wrapping around the curve of the planet, no thicker than the skin of an apple compared to the fruit inside. This thin blue line is the only thing standing between all the life we know and the infinite cold. Seeing it from this perspective creates a feeling of overwhelming tenderness. It looks like a breath, a delicate layer of mist clinging to the rock by the grace of gravity alone. As you look through it, you see the gradient of colour shift. From the white clouds and blue oceans below, transitioning into a deep indigo, then a dark, bruised purple, and finally, fading seamlessly into the absolute black of space. There is no hard ceiling, no sudden stop. The air just gently lets go, thinning out molecule by molecule until there is nothing left. It is a lesson in softness, a demonstration of how the transition from existence to emptiness is not a wall, but a gradient. It invites you to soften your own edges, to let your own boundaries blur and fade, merging quietly with the vastness around you. Drifting just beyond this delicate skin, we find ourselves moving at a speed that defies intuition, yet feeling a sensation of perfect stillness. We are now in low Earth orbit, tracing the path of the International Space Station. Here, we encounter the paradox of freefall. To stay in orbit, an object must travel at 17,500 miles per hour, fast enough that as it falls toward Earth, the Earth curves away beneath it. It is a state of eternal falling, a perpetual surrender to gravity that results in the sensation of floating. Imagine being inside this orbital flow. You're moving faster than a speeding bullet, crossing entire continents in minutes. Yet, because there is no wind, no bumps in the road, and no vibration, it feels as though you're hanging motionless in the void. You're weightless. The burden of your body, the heaviness of your bones, the pull of the earth, it all vanishes. You're as light as a thought. If you were to release a pen from your hand, it would just hover there, suspended in the air beside you. This is the ultimate relaxation, a physical state where no muscle needs to work to hold you up. You're supported by the momentum of the universe itself. Allow your mind to replicate this feeling, untethering yourself from the bed, releasing the weight of your limbs and floating in the quiet, high-speed stillness of the orbital drift. From this height, the rhythm of the day and night is accelerated, transforming time into a strobe light of beauty. Because of the speed at which we are travelling, circling the planet every 90 minutes, we do not see one sunrise and one sunset each day. We see 16. Every 45 minutes, the world transitions from light to dark, or dark to light. This creates a spectacular visual rhythm. Imagine watching the sun dip below the curved horizon of the Earth. It does not set slowly as it does on the ground. It plunges. The atmosphere ignites in distinct bands of colour, a rainbow cake of stratification. First a layer of deep orange, then a thin line of electric blue, and finally the blackness of space. And then, 45 minutes later, the process reverses. A blinding diamond of light pierces the darkness, and the world is instantly awake. This cycle of 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets creates a sense of accelerated renewal. If you missed the morning, don't worry. Another one is coming in less than an hour. It is a reminder that light always returns, that the cycle is rapid and relentless. You are bathing in a constant strobe of celestial light, a heartbeat of day and night that pulses through the cabin of your mind, hypnotic and reassuring. We allow the momentum of orbit to sling us outward, away from the strobe light of Earth, toward our silent companion, the Moon. As we approach, we drift toward the side that humanity never sees from the ground, the far side of the Moon. Because the Moon spins on its axis at the exact same speed that it orbits the Earth, a phenomenon called tidal locking, it keeps one face eternally turned toward us, like a dancer staring into the eyes of a partner. The other side is forever turned away, staring out into the deep void. Drifting over this hidden hemisphere, we notice it looks different. It is rougher, more battered, covered in a dense, chaotic record of craters upon craters. But the most profound quality of the far side is its silence. When you're here, the bulk of the Moon blocks all the radio waves, all the television signals, and all the chatter from Earth. It is the quietest place in the immediate solar system. There are no voices here, no data streams, just the silent grey craters and the undistorted view of the universe. It is a zone of absolute digital detox, a natural sanctuary where the noise of humanity is physically blocked by 2,000 miles of rock. Imagine floating in this shadow, shielded from the noise of the world, bathed in the true, unpolluted silence of the cosmos. It is a place of secrets, a private balcony facing the infinite, where you can be truly, completely alone. While we float in the shadow of the Moon, we become aware of a very slow, almost imperceptible movement. The Moon is leaving us. It is not a sudden departure, but a long, slow drift. Every year, the Moon moves about 1.5 inches further away from the Earth. It is stealing a tiny bit of Earth's rotational energy to push itself into a wider orbit. This is a goodbye that takes billions of years. It speaks to the impermanence of all things, even the rocks in the sky. Long ago, the Moon was huge in our sky, orbiting much closer, its tides raking across the young Earth with immense power. Now, it is a distant, polite companion, and in the far distant future, it will be smaller still. There is a melancholy beauty in this drift, a reminder that relationships, even celestial ones, evolve. The universe is expanding, stretching, and letting go. Visualizing this slow retreat slows down the mind. It is a movement so gradual it feels like stillness, a glacial sliding away that happens without drama, without sound, just the slow expansion of space between two old friends. This delicate dance of distance and size brings us to one of the most astonishing coincidences in the entire universe, the total solar eclipse. The Sun is 400 times larger than the Moon. That is a massive difference in size, but by a stroke of sheer cosmic luck, the Sun is also exactly 400 times further away from Earth than the Moon is. This geometry means that, when viewed from Earth, the Sun and the Moon appear to be the exact same size in the sky. They are perfect puzzle pieces. When the Moon passes in front of the Sun, it doesn't just block part of it, it fits over it like a perfect lid on a jar. It covers the blinding disk of the Sun precisely, but leaves the Sun's atmosphere, the corona, visible. This creates a ring of pearly white fire around a circle of absolute blackness. If the Moon were a little smaller, or the Sun a little closer, this magic would not happen. We live in the only time and place where we can witness this perfect alignment. It feels like a secret wink from the universe, a moment of perfect order in a chaotic system. Visualize that moment of totality, the world going dark at noon, the birds falling silent, and that black hole in the sky crowned with white fire. It is a moment of alignment, of things clicking into place perfectly, giving you a sense that for a moment everything fits exactly where it should be. We follow that ring of solar fire back to its source, diving into the incomprehensible heat of the Sun itself. Deep inside the core, a photon of light is born. This tiny packet of energy is created through the fusion of atoms, a spark of pure brilliance. You might think that once light is created, it shoots out instantly to illuminate the planets. But the journey of a photon is one of struggle and patience. The core of the Sun is so dense, packed so tight with plasma, that the photon cannot travel in a straight line. It moves a tiny fraction of an inch and crashes into another particle, bouncing off in a random direction. Then it crashes again, and again. It is a pinball game played on an atomic level. This tiny spark of light bounces around inside the Sun, trapped in the crushing depths, for anywhere from 100,000 to 1,000,000 years. It wanders the labyrinth of the star, slowly, painstakingly working its way toward the surface. It is a journey of endurance, but finally, after aeons of struggle, it reaches the surface, the photosphere, and in that moment, it is free. It shoots out into the void, travelling at the speed of the light, crossing the 93 million miles to Earth in just 8 minutes. The sunlight hitting your face today is ancient. It has been trying to reach you for thousands of years. It has fought its way out of the heart of a star just to warm your skin. Feel the preciousness of that light, the long, difficult journey it took to bring you a moment of brightness. As we hover near the surface of the Sun, watching these ancient photons escape, we notice that the face of the star is not smooth. It is textured. It looks like the skin of an orange, or a pot of bubbling gold honey. These are solar granules. Each one of these grains is a cell of rising plasma, a convection current bringing heat from the deep interior. But do not let the word granule fool you. Each one of these tiny bubbles is the size of the state of Texas. They rise to the surface, glow brightly for about 20 minutes as they release their heat, and then cool down and sink back into the depths, making way for new granules. The entire surface of the Sun is boiling, shifting, and overturning in a mesmerizing rhythmic pattern. It is a slow-motion roiling of golden fire. It is mesmerizing to watch, like staring into a campfire, but on a scale that defies imagination. It is the heartbeat of the solar system, a constant, churning cycle of renewal. Imagine the surface not as a solid ground, but as a living, breathing ocean of light, constantly refreshing itself, never stagnant, always moving, warm and alive. Finally, we pull back from the roiling surface to see the Sun's influence in its entirety. We see that the Sun is not just a ball of light, it is blowing a bubble around itself. This is the heliosphere, the solar wind. That stream of particles we saw creating the auroras doesn't just stop at Earth. It travels outward, past Mars, past Jupiter, past Pluto. It continues until it meets the interstellar medium, the winds of other stars. There, far beyond the edge of the planets, the solar wind forms a giant protective bubble that encompasses the entire solar system. We are all living inside the atmosphere of the Sun. This bubble shields us from high-energy cosmic rays coming from deep space. It creates a cozy, safe little pocket in the galaxy for us to live in. We are like children playing in a walled garden, protected from the wild winds of the open universe by the breath of our own star. This heliosphere is the true edge of our home. It is a vast, invisible cocoon, billions of miles wide, holding back the dark, keeping the space within it calm and stable. Rest in the knowledge that we are doubly shielded, first by the Earth's magnetosphere, and then by the Sun's great bubble, nestled deep within layers of cosmic protection, safe, warm, and drifting in the care of the stars. Floating safely within this protective bubble of the Sun, we allow ourselves to drift toward the very fringes of the planetary realm, to a region that resembles a vast frozen coastline. This is the Kuiper Belt. If the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter is a rocky highway, the Kuiper Belt is a massive icy ocean surrounding the entire solar system. It is a donut-shaped ring of frozen worlds, 20 times wider and hundreds of times more massive than the asteroid belt. Here, the Sun is just a particularly bright star in the distance, providing little warmth. The objects here are not made of rock and iron, but of ancient volatile ices, methane, ammonia, and water, frozen as hard as granite. Imagine floating through this silent archipelago of ice. It is a graveyard of the solar system's formation, a collection of building blocks that never quite came together to form a planet. These icy bodies drift in the eternal twilight, preserving the history of 4 billion years ago. It is a place of profound preservation. Because it is so cold and so dark, nothing changes quickly here. A crater made 1 billion years ago looks as fresh as if it happened yesterday. There is a stillness here that feels heavy, a sense of time being paused. As you drift past these silent sentinels, you are witnessing the raw, untouched material of creation waiting in the dark, spinning slowly in a cosmic deep freeze that protects them from the ravages of time. In the midst of this icy ring, we find the most beloved of the dwarf planets, Pluto. For decades, we thought of it as a dead, frozen rock. But when we finally sent a spacecraft to look at it, we found a world that is surprisingly alive. The dominant feature of this tiny world is a vast heart-shaped plain known as Tombor Regio. This heart is not just a stain on the surface, it is a giant glacier made of nitrogen ice. Because nitrogen has a much lower melting point than water, even in the freezing temperatures of Pluto, this ice can flow. It moves like a slow, slushy river, devoid of craters because the surface is constantly renewing itself. Imagine standing on the edge of this glacier. The ground beneath your feet is not static. It is churning, bubbling up from below and spreading out in convection cells that look like the skin of a cantaloupe. It is a beating heart of ice. Despite being so far from the sun, this little world has a geologic pulse. It recycles its own surface, erasing the scars of the past, smoothing over the craters. It is a beautiful reminder that even in the coldest, most distant places, there is activity, there is renewal, and there is a heart beating in the darkness, keeping the world alive. Drifting just above this nitrogen heart, we look up to see Pluto's constant companion, its largest moon, Charon. The relationship between these two is unique in the solar system. Charon is so massive compared to Pluto that they do not strictly orbit one another in the traditional sense. Usually a moon orbits a planet, but here, the centre of gravity, the point they both orbit around, is not inside Pluto. It is a point in empty space between them. This creates a celestial waltz. Pluto and Charon are facing each other, locked in a gravitational embrace, spinning around a central point in the void. If you stood on the surface of Pluto, Charon would never rise or set. It would hang motionless in the sky, a giant grey sentinel, while the stars rotated behind it. They are tidal locked, meaning they always show the same face to one another. It is a look of eternal longing, an unbreakable eye contact between two worlds. Visualizing this double planet system spinning in the dark creates a sense of perfect balance. They are equals, partners in the cold, holding on to each other across the gap of space, dancing a circle around a point of nothingness that binds them together forever. Leaving the dance of the dwarf planets, we glide inward, returning to the realm of the giants. We arrive at Neptune, the windy sentinel of the outer rim. This planet is a stunning orb of deep azure blue. The colour is not a reflection of an ocean, but the result of methane gas in the atmosphere absorbing red light. But do not let the serene colour fool you. This is a world of invisible violence. Neptune hosts the fastest winds in the solar system. Here, the winds whip around the planet at speeds reaching 1,200 miles per hour. That is faster than the speed of sound. On Earth, a hurricane is terrifying. On Neptune, the entire atmosphere is a supersonic flow. But because there are no mountains, no trees, and no buildings to break the wind, there is no turbulence. It is a smooth, laminar flow. Imagine being caught in a current of air that moves faster than a bullet, yet feels completely smooth. It is a stream of pure momentum. If you were to float in these upper clouds, you would be carried around the planet in a matter of hours, gliding in a silent, high-speed slipstream. It is a sensation of effortless speed, of being carried by a power so great it requires no struggle. You're simply one with the wind, flowing through the sapphire mist wrapped in the cool blue velocity of the ice giant. Drifting inward from the blue giant, we approach the ringed kingdom of Saturn again, but this time we descend toward its largest moon, Titan. Titan is a world that feels strangely familiar, yet completely alien. It is the only moon in the solar system with a thick atmosphere, a dense orange haze that hides its surface from view. As we sink through this smog, the sky turns a deep tangerine colour, and we find ourselves looking out over a landscape that mimics Earth, but with a twist. There are rivers, lakes, and seas down here, but they are not filled with water. At these temperatures, water is as hard as rock. The liquid flowing on Titan is methane and ethane, liquid natural gas. Imagine standing on the shore of Ligea Mare, one of the northern seas. The liquid is perfectly clear, like gasoline, and the surface is unnaturally smooth. Because gravity is low and the liquid is less dense than water, the waves here are large, slow, and lazy. They roll in with a ghostly sluggishness. Above you, clouds of methane gather, dropping slow-motion rain that evaporates before it hits the ground. It is a silent orange twilight world, a mirror image of Earth made of chemicals. It feels eerie but calm, a quiet chemistry lab operating in the dark where slow waves lap against shores of frozen water ice under a sky that never clears. From the orange haze of Titan, we move to a much smaller, brighter moon, Enceladus. This tiny ball of ice is one of the brightest objects in the solar system because it is covered in fresh, clean snow. But the true wonder lies at its south pole. Here, deep fissures in the ice, known as tiger stripes, are venting water vapour and ice particles out into space. Enceladus is geologically active. Beneath its frozen crust lies a global ocean of liquid warm water. The pressure pushes this water up through the cracks, creating gigantic geysers that shoot hundreds of miles into the void. This is not just steam, it is a fountain of creation. As these ice crystals float away, they don't just disappear. They drift into orbit around Saturn and actually form one of its rings, the E-ring. Saturn's E-ring is being constantly replenished by the breath of this tiny moon. Imagine floating in the silence, watching these majestic plumes of white mist erupting from the surface, sparkling in the sunlight, feeding the giant ring system above. It is a continuous act of giving, a small moon offering its own substance to build the beauty of the planet it orbits. It creates a feeling of connection, a realization that the rings are not just debris, but the frozen breath of a sleeping ocean. Rising from the moon to the planet itself, we fly to the very top of the world, the North Pole of Saturn. Here the clouds do not swirl in a spiral or a circle. They form a perfect sharp-edged hexagon. This is a six-sided storm system that has been churning for decades, perhaps centuries. It is so large that 4 Earths could fit inside it. The geometry is precise, straight lines of wind forming a shape that seems impossible in nature. It looks like a giant nut waiting for a cosmic wrench. The colours inside this hexagon change with the seasons, shifting from a bluish gold to a bright gold as the long Saturnian summer approaches. It is a mystery of fluid dynamics, a demonstration that order can emerge from chaos. In the messy, swirling atmosphere of a gas giant, the laws of physics have carved out a space of rigid structure. Watch the hexagon spin, its 6 corners rotating in perfect unison. It is a hypnotic mandala, a symbol of structure and stability sitting like a crown on top of the chaotic planet. It allows the mind to find a focal point, a shape to hold onto in the swirling mists, grounding you in the certainty of geometry. Leaving the golden realm of Saturn, we journey inward to the king of planets, Jupiter, and find a moon that holds a secret beneath its shell. This is Europa. From space, it looks like a cracked marble, a smooth white sphere crisscrossed with reddish-brown lines. These lines are fractures in the ice, scars where the surface has broken and healed. Like Enceladus, Europa hides an ocean, but this ocean is massive. It contains twice as much water as all of Earth's oceans combined. The gravitational pull of Jupiter massages the moon, stretching and squeezing it, creating heat that keeps the water liquid beneath the miles-thick crust of ice. Imagine standing on that ice. It is not static. It creaks and groans as the tide of the hidden ocean pushes against it from below. It is a planetary shell, protecting a vast, dark, warm sea. In that darkness, life could theoretically exist, swimming in the sunless depths. The thought of this hidden depth is comforting, a secret inner world protected by a shield of ice, safe from the radiation and cold of space. It invites you to turn inward, to acknowledge your own deep, quiet places that are protected from the outside world, warm and alive beneath the surface. We drift closer to the sun now, passing the Earth and arriving at the clouded planet, Venus. We often think of Venus as a hellscape due to its heat, but from a distance it teaches us a lesson about patience and nonconformity. Venus spins in the opposite direction to almost every other planet. If you could stand on its surface and see through the clouds, you would watch the sun rise in the west and set in the east. But you would have to wait a long time. Venus spins so slowly that its day is longer than its year. It takes Venus 243 Earth days to spin once on its axis, but only 225 days to orbit the Sun. This means a single day on Venus lasts longer than an entire year. The passage of time here is stretched, elongated, slowed down to a crawl. There is no rush on Venus. The sun hangs in the sky for months at a time. The shadows shift with agonizing slowness. It is a planet of supreme lethargy, a world that refuses to be hurried. Allow yourself to sync with this Venusian rhythm. Feel the urgency of the clock melting away. There is no need to count the hours when a single afternoon lasts for a season. Let the slow, backward rotation of the planet unwind the tension in your mind, turning back the clock, slowing everything down until it stops. Finally, we consider the very substance that makes up these planets, the moons, and even your own body. We drift in thought to the catastrophic but beautiful end of a massive star, a supernova. When the universe began, there was only hydrogen and helium, simple, light gases. There was no carbon for life, no calcium for bones, no iron for blood, no gold for rings. These heavy elements were not created in the Big Bang. They were forged in the fiery hearts of dying stars. For millions of years, a massive star crushes atoms together, creating heavier and heavier elements until it finally collapses and explodes. In that fraction of a second, the explosion creates a blast furnace so hot that it fuses the rest of the elements in the periodic table. The gold, the silver, the platinum. They are all created in the violent death of a star. This explosion scatters this dust across the cosmos. Eventually that dust clumps together to form new stars, new planets, and eventually you. Every atom in your body that is heavier than hydrogen was once inside a star that exploded before the Earth was born. The iron in your blood that carries oxygen, it was made in a star. The calcium in your teeth, made in a star. You're literally made of stardust. You're a way for the universe to know itself. You're not separate from the cosmos. You're a piece of it that has woken up. Feel this connection in your bones. You belong here. You're as ancient as the stars, composed of the same holy fire, recycled and reassembled into a form that can breathe, dream, and sleep. You are the universe, resting for a while in the shape of a human. And as we rest in this realization that we are the universe seemingly asleep, dreaming of itself, we turn our gaze to the beautiful, gentle exhale that created this stardust. We drift toward a phenomenon known as a planetary nebula. Despite the name, this has nothing to do with planets. It is the final artistic masterpiece of a star like our own sun. When a star of this size reaches the end of its life, it does not explode with violent fury like the massive supergiants. Instead, it gently shrugs off its outer layers, like a flower releasing its petals into the breeze. Imagine a star at the center of a dark canvas, slowly breathing out shells of glowing gas. These shells expand outward in intricate symmetrical patterns, rings, hourglasses, and butterfly wings, painted in electric blues, deep reds, and vibrant greens. This is the star surrendering its substance to the void, a peaceful donation of matter that will one day form new worlds. To watch a planetary nebula is to watch a slow-motion blossoming that takes tens of thousands of years. It is a silent unravelling of light and colour, a cosmic sigh that expands until it fades into the interstellar night. There is no destruction here, only transformation, a gentle unfolding of layers that reveals the glowing jewel hidden at the centre, leaving behind a sculpture of gas to decorate the quiet galleries of the galaxy. As the colourful veils of the nebula drift away, fading into the darkness, we are left looking at what remains at the centre, a white dwarf. This is the exposed core of the star, a small, incredibly dense sphere no larger than the Earth, glowing with a fierce, white-hot purity. It is a star that has finished its work. It no longer burns fuel, it no longer struggles against gravity. It simply exists, radiating the heat of its past glory. Think of it as a cosmic ember, resting after a lifetime of burning. But this ember is destined for a transformation of supreme elegance. As a white dwarf cools over billions of years, the carbon and oxygen inside it begin to settle and organise. Under the crushing pressure of its own gravity, the star begins to crystallise. It turns into a diamond. Astronomers have located a star in the constellation Centaurus, named Lucy, which is essentially a diamond 10 billion trillion carats in size. Imagine a gem the size of the Earth, hanging in the black velvet of space, ringing with the silence of eternity. It is the ultimate symbol of endurance and clarity, a star that has become a jewel, cold, hard, and everlasting, shining not from fire but from the memory of light. From this single, isolated jewel, we pull back, far back, until the stars themselves blur together. We are zooming out to see the grandest structure of all, the cosmic web. If you could see the universe from the outside, it would not look like a random scattering of galaxies. It would look like a delicate lace, a biological network of light. Matter in the universe is arranged in long, thin filaments, threads of galaxies millions of light years long stretching across the dark. Where these threads intersect, massive clusters of galaxies form, glowing like knots in a net. It looks remarkably like the neurons in a human brain, a vast, glowing nervous system of the cosmos. We are living inside one of these threads, a tiny point of light in the grand tapestry. This visualization connects us to the whole. We are not isolated specks, but part of a continuous woven fabric. There are no loose ends in the universe. Everything is connected to everything else by these invisible bridges of gravity and dark matter. Feel yourself held in this web, suspended in the safety of the great design, a single, vital thread in the infinite lace of existence. Between these shining threads of the cosmic web, there are vast regions of nothingness. These are the cosmic voids. While the filaments are crowded with galaxies and light, the voids are the empty spaces, the deep breaths of the universe. The largest of these, such as the Butter's void, are spheres of emptiness hundreds of millions of light years across. If you were floating in the centre of such a void, you would see almost nothing. The galaxies would be so far away they would be too faint to detect with the naked eye. You would be surrounded by absolute pristine darkness. It is the ultimate sensory deprivation tank. But this emptiness is not scary. It is clean. It is a place of potential, a spacious room where the universe has cleared the floor. These voids are the expanding lungs of the cosmos, growing larger as the universe stretches. To drift through a void is to experience the luxury of space, the freedom of an environment where there are no obstacles, no clutter, only the profound, healing peace of deep, dark miles, where nothing is asked of you and nothing stands in your way. Drifting out of the void and back toward the warmth of the filaments, we encounter the ancient cities of the galaxy, globular clusters. While most stars, like our Sun, drift alone or in pairs, globular clusters are tight-knit communities of hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of stars packed into a sphere. These are the oldest structures in the universe, relics from the very formation of the galaxy. The stars here are ancient, glowing with a soft amber gold hue, unlike the bright blue-white of new stars. Because they are packed so closely together, the night sky on a planet inside a globular cluster would be blindingly beautiful. There would be no true darkness. The sky would be paved with diamonds, thousands of stars shining brighter than the full moon, casting multiple shadows, filling the night with a perpetual golden twilight. It is a place of eternal company, where no star is ever lonely. Imagine resting in that golden glow, surrounded by 1,000,000 ancient sentinels, bathed in the warm, collective light of a community that has held together for 10 billion years. From the golden light of the clusters, we shift our senses to the colours of the universe as a whole. We look up and see a black sky, but if we were to take the light from every single galaxy, every star and every nebula in the universe, and blend them together, what colour would the universe be? Astronomers have done this calculation. They found that the average colour of existence is not black, nor blue, nor fiery red. The universe is a soft, creamy beige. It is the colour of a latte, the colour of old parchment, or the colour of warm sand. Scientists have officially named this shade cosmic latte. It is a comforting revelation. The sum total of all the fire, all the violence, all the freezing cold, and all the darkness averages out to a warm, neutral, soothing shade of cream. Visualize this colour washing over you, a warm milk bath of light. It suggests that at its heart the universe is not harsh or dramatic, but soft and neutral. It is a background of warmth, a cosy, enveloping shade that serves as the canvas for our dreams. As we float in this creamy cosmic light, we begin to listen. We often think of space as silent, and while sound cannot travel in a vacuum, the universe is full of radio waves, electromagnetic songs sung by the planets. If we convert the radio emissions of our own Earth into sound, we hear something startlingly beautiful known as the chorus. Generated by the electrons spiralling in Earth's magnetic belts, this sound does not resemble the roar of a machine or the static of a radio. It sounds like birds. It is a series of chirps, whistles, and rising tweets that sound exactly like a flock of starlings greeting the dawn in a wet forest. This is the song our planet sings to the cosmos every second of every day. It is a dawn chorus made of electricity. Imagine floating in space above the atmosphere and hearing this digital birdsong, a cheerful, erratic melody playing against the backdrop of the stars. It makes the Earth feel like a living creature, whistling a happy tune as it sails around the sun, a biological island singing of life in the silent sea. Following the song of the Earth, we cast our minds outward to find other islands in the dark, specifically the water worlds. We have discovered planets where the entire surface is covered by a global ocean, hundreds of miles deep. There are no continents, no islands, no ice caps. Just a single, unbroken sphere of water. Imagine a world that is nothing but a horizon. The waves here travel forever, never breaking against a shore, rolling in infinite swells around the circumference of the planet. The weather on such a world would be hypnotic. Endless bands of clouds mirroring the endless bands of water. Beneath the surface, the ocean might extend down so deep that the water at the bottom is pressed into a strange hot ice by the sheer weight of the sea above. To float on the surface of such a world is to be cradled by the ultimate abundance of fluid. There is no hard ground to hit, no rock to scrape against. There is only the rise and fall of the eternal tide, a fluid embrace that rocks you in a rhythm as old as the planet itself. From the liquid surface, we look up and consider the light that hits these waters. We think of a light as something that reveals, but in the cosmos, gravity can trick the light, bending it in a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. When a massive object, like a cluster of galaxies, sits in front of a distant light source, its gravity warps the fabric of space itself, acting like a giant glass lens. This means we can see things that are hiding behind the galaxy. The light from a distant star curves around the obstacle to reach our eyes, appearing as a halo or a ring of light, known as an Einstein ring. It is a cosmic mirage. It teaches us that the path is not always straight. Light can flow like water, it can bend around corners, it can find a way to reach us even when there is a mountain in the way. Visualize this bending light, these arcs of luminosity curving around the darkness. It is a reminder that even when things seem blocked, even when an obstacle stands in your path, there is a way around. The universe bends itself to allow the light to get through. Finally, we let the bent light guide us to the ultimate resting place of the cosmos, a concept known as the heat death, but which we shall call the Great Rest. The universe is expanding, and the stars are slowly burning through their fuel. Billions of years from now, the last star will flicker out. The galaxies will drift apart until they can no longer see each other. The universe will reach a state of perfect equilibrium, a temperature of absolute uniformity. While this sounds lonely, in the language of sleep, it is the ultimate peace. It is the end of all turbulence, the end of all chaos, the end of all change. It is a state of permanent, undisturbed stillness. The universe will have finished its job. It will settle into a dark, cool, eternal slumber where nothing ever needs to be done again. It is the Saturday afternoon of eternity. We are far, far from that time, living in the vibrant, energetic youth of the cosmos, but knowing that this deep rest awaits at the end of time adds a layer of profound calm to the present. The universe is moving toward peace. It is slowly unwinding, relaxing its muscles, breathing out its energy, and preparing for a long, dark, and perfect sleep. Let yourself align with this distant destiny, feeling the slow, billions of years cooling of all things, the gentle fade into the velvet quiet that waits for us all. While we rest in the contemplation of that distant final peace, we must remember that the universe is still echoing with the sound of its own beginning. If you were to find an old television set, the kind with a glass tube and rabbit ear antennas, and you were to tune it to a channel where there is no broadcast, you would see a screen filled with dancing black and white static. You would hear a hiss of white noise. We often treat this as a nuisance, a lack of signal. But in reality, about 1% of that static is caused by the cosmic microwave background radiation. This is the oldest light in the universe. It is the afterglow of the Big Bang itself, a fossil of the moment the universe cooled down enough to become transparent. This energy has been travelling for nearly 14 billion years, stretching out as the universe expands, shifting from blinding white light into invisible microwaves. It is everywhere. It is in the room with you right now, passing through the walls, passing through your body. It is a bath of ancient warmth that permeates every cubic inch of existence. To look at that static on the screen is to look directly at the fires of creation, cooled down by the eons into a gentle whispering hum. It wraps the entire cosmos in a blanket of faint energy, a reminder that nothing is truly empty, and the memory of the beginning is written into the very air around us. Drifting through this soup of ancient light, we encounter a particle that teaches us the true meaning of freedom. These are neutrinos. They're often called ghost particles because they barely interact with matter at all. They are born in the hearts of stars, in the bellies of supernovae, and in the nuclear reactions of the sun. Right now, in this very second, trillions of neutrinos are passing through your body, but you cannot feel them. To a neutrino, you're not solid. The chair you're sitting on is not solid. The entire Earth is nothing more than a thin mist. They pass through the planet as easily as light passes through a clear glass window. A neutrino could travel through a block of lead a light year thick and never hit an atom. Imagine being that light, that unburdened. Imagine moving through the universe with such perfect ease that no wall can stop you, no barrier can slow you down, and no gravity can pull you off course. You're completely detached from the friction of the world. Visualize these tiny invisible travelers streaming through the roof, through your skin, and down through the bed, continuing their journey through the crust of the earth and out the other side, silent and unstoppable, messengers of the stars that touch us without ever disturbing our rest. As these ghost particles stream away, we turn our attention to the space they travel through. We used to think that gravity was the only master of the cosmos, pulling everything together. But we now know there is a counterforce, a mysterious invisible energy that is pushing everything apart. We call it dark energy. It makes up nearly 70% of the universe, yet we cannot see it. We can only see its effect. The galaxies are moving away from each other faster and faster. Think of the universe as a giant pair of lungs. For a long time, we thought the breath was being held, or perhaps slowly exhaled. But dark energy is a deep, slow inhalation. It is expanding the chest of the cosmos, creating more space between the galaxies, stretching the fabric of reality. It is a gentle, relentless push that ensures the universe will never collapse back in on itself. It is making the universe roomier, vaster, and more open. Feel this expansion in your own chest as you breathe. With every inhale, you are mimicking the expansion of the universe, creating space within yourself, pushing away the tightness, widening the boundaries of your inner world until there is infinite room to float. Floating within this expanding chest, we look at our immediate surroundings in the galaxy. We often think of space as a uniform spread of stars, but we're actually traveling through a very specific structure known as the local bubble. This is a cavity in the interstellar medium, a cavern cleared out of the dust and gas. Millions of years ago, a cluster of supernovae exploded nearby. The force of these explosions acted like a leaf blower, pushing away the heavy, dense clouds of gas, leaving behind a clear, low-density bubble. Our sun, in its journey through the galaxy, drifted into this clearing a few million years ago, and we are still drifting through it today. Imagine driving a car through a dense fog and suddenly breaking out into a pocket of clear, calm air. That is where we are. We are travelling through a tunnel of clarity carved by the ancestors of the night sky. The walls of this bubble are made of cold, dense gas where new stars are forming. But here inside, it is quiet, clear, and safe. We are protected in a clearing of the cosmic forest, enjoying a smooth ride through the vacuum. From the safety of our bubble, we look out toward the constellation of Orion, to the giant red star that marks the hunter's shoulder, Betelgeuse. This is a red supergiant, a star in the final majestic stages of its life. To understand the scale of this giant, we must bring it home. If you were to replace our sun with Betelgeuse, it would not just touch the Earth, it would swallow us whole, it would swallow Mars, it would extend all the way out to Jupiter. This star is a billowing, pulsating cloud of red-hot gas, so large that it takes light, which can circle the Earth 7 times in a second, nearly an hour just to cross its diameter. It is not a solid sphere like our sun. It is a throbbing, shape-shifting blob of plasma, beating like a slow, giant heart. It dims and brightens over months, breathing in and out. Imagine floating near such a behemoth, bathed in its deep, ruddy glow. It is a sunset that fills the entire sky, a warm crimson embrace. It reminds us that our own sun is just a grain of sand compared to the giants that roam the deep, and that there are fires in the night capable of warming the coldest reaches of the imagination. Far away from the slow, red pulse of the giant, we find a star that mimics the precision of a clock. This is a pulsar. When a massive star collapses, it can spin incredibly fast, shooting beams of radio waves out of its poles like the light from a lighthouse. As the star spins, this beam sweeps across the Earth, appearing as a regular rhythmic pulse. Some of these stars spin hundreds of times per second, faster than a kitchen blender. But the rhythm is so precise that pulsars are the most accurate clocks in the universe, more stable than atomic clocks on Earth. Imagine a lighthouse in the dark ocean of space. its beams sweeping around and around in perfect silence. Flash, flash, flash. It is the metronome of the galaxy, a steady heartbeat that has persisted for millions of years. Listening to the concept of this rhythm, perfect, unwavering, reliable, can help synchronize your own mind. It suggests a universe that is not chaotic but orderly, keeping perfect time in the dark, marking the seconds with a flash of light that travels forever. While the pulsars spin alone, entire galaxies dance together. We look toward the Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large neighbour. It is a spiral of light much like our own Milky Way, glowing steadily in the distance, but it is getting closer. Gravity is pulling our two galaxies together in a slow-motion embrace that will take 4 billion years to complete. This is not a collision in the way we think of car crashes. It is a merger, a marriage of light. Because the space between stars is so vast, when the galaxies meet, almost no stars will actually hit each other. They will pass through one another like two ghosts walking through the same wall. The two spirals will swirl and mix, throwing streamers of stars out in long, beautiful arcs, eventually settling down into a single, massive elliptical galaxy. Astronomers have already named this future child Milkomeda. It is a beautiful destiny. We're not alone. We're moving toward a union. We're slowly drifting toward a partner. Visualize this long, slow waltz of billions of stars, a dance that requires eons to finish, ending in a state of unity where two become one in the great dark hall of the universe. But for now, we are located in a very specific, peaceful neighborhood known as the Galactic Habitable Zone. Just as a planet must be the right distance from a star to have water, a solar system must be the right distance from the center of the galaxy to be safe. If we were too close to the galactic core, the radiation would be too intense, and the gravity of passing stars would constantly disrupt our orbit. If we were too far out at the edge, there wouldn't be enough heavy elements to build planets like Earth. We are in the suburbs of the Milky Way. We live in a quiet, spiral arm called the Orion Spur. It is far enough from the bustling, dangerous downtown of the galactic core, but connected enough to have the materials we need. It is the Goldilocks zone of the galaxy itself. Imagine living in a house at the end of a long, quiet country road, where the city lights are just aglow on the horizon, close enough to see, but far enough away to enjoy the silence. That is our location in the cosmos. We are tucked away in a safe, quiet corner of the spiral, allowed to grow and dream without disturbance. Drifting closer to that quiet home, we find points in space where gravity seems to pause. These are the Lagrange points. In any system with two large bodies, like the Earth and the Moon, or the Earth and the Sun, there are 5 specific spots where the gravitational pull of the two bodies cancels each other out perfectly. If you were to park a spaceship at one of these points, it would stay there, fixed in relation to the Earth, moving with it but never falling toward it and never drifting away. It is a gravitational parking spot, a place of perfect equilibrium. It is like finding the balance point on a seesaw and just hovering there, weightless and still. These points are the calmest waters in the gravity well. To be there is to be in a state of suspension, held by the balance of opposing forces. Imagine your mind finding such a point, a place between the pull of the past and the pull of the future, a Lagrange point of the present moment where you can simply hover, effortless and still, carried along by the orbit of the night without having to steer. Finally, we descend from the balance points to the surface of our own moon, to a place called the Sea of Tranquility, to witness a monument to silence. There, standing in the grey dust, are the flags left by the astronauts of the Apollo missions more than half a century ago. When they were planted, they were bright red, white, and blue, symbols of a nation. But the moon has no atmosphere to filter the harsh ultraviolet light of the sun. Over the decades, the radiation has bleached the fabric completely. Today, if you could stand there and look at them, you would see that the flags have turned pure white. In the language of war and peace, a white flag is the universal symbol of truce, of surrender, of the end of conflict. By accident of nature, the moon has transformed our national symbols into a message of cosmic peace. They stand there, white and pristine against the black sky, motionless in the vacuum. There is no wind to wave them. They are statues of stillness. Visualizing those white flags on the silent grey world creates a profound sense of surrender. The fighting is over. The striving is done. There is only the white flag of the night, signalling that it is time to lay down your defences, to accept the peace of the silence, and to surrender to the drift of sleep. From that place of stillness, standing beside the white flags of surrender, we look down at the ground beneath our boots. We are on the night side of the moon, hidden from the direct glare of the sun. By all logic, it should be pitch black, a darkness so complete that you could not see your own hand in front of your face. But it is not. The lunar landscape around you is bathed in a ghostly, soft grey luminescence. This is not sunlight, nor is it starlight. It is earthshine. When you look up into the lunar sky, you see the Earth hanging there, 4 times larger than the moon appears to us, fully illuminated by the sun. It acts as a giant mirror reflecting the blue and white light of the oceans and clouds back onto the moon. This reflected light is soft, dim, and incredibly gentle. It is called the old moon in the new moon's arms. On Earth, when we see a thin crescent moon, we can sometimes see the rest of the moon glowing faintly. That is this light. Imagine standing there, reading a book by the light of the Earth. It is a light that has travelled from the sun, bounced off the Pacific Ocean, travelled through the void, and landed on the lunar dust. It is a second-hand light, softened by the journey, a nightlight kept on by the mother planet to ensure her satellite never has to sleep in total darkness. Following that beam of reflected light back to its source, we drift toward the Earth itself to witness the line that divides the light from the dark. This is the Terminator. It is not a sudden switch, but a zone of twilight that circles the planet endlessly. If you were to float directly above this line, you would look down and see a world caught in a perpetual state of sunset. To your left, the continents are basking in the late afternoon sun. To your right, the cities are lighting up, sparkling like gold dust in the deepening violet of the night. But directly below you, on the line, the world is painted in the colours of dusk. Deep oranges, soft pinks, and bruising purples. Because the Earth is always spinning, this sunset never ends. It sweeps across the globe at 1,000 miles an hour, waking some nations while putting others to sleep. Imagine surfing this line, staying in the eternal twilight, never fully day and never fully night, suspended in that magical hushed moment when the birds stop singing and the first stars appear. It is a place of transition, a boundary of rest that sweeps over the world like a slow, cooling hand, closing the eyes of the planet one time zone at a time. Drifting just above this twilight line, in the very highest reaches of the atmosphere, we encounter a phenomenon that looks like it belongs in a dream. These are the noctilucent clouds, the night-shining clouds. While normal clouds float a few miles above the ground, these wisps of ice crystals form at the very edge of space, 50 miles up in the mesosphere. They are so high that even after the sun has set for everyone on the ground and the sky has turned black, these clouds can still see the sun over the curvature of the Earth. They catch the sunlight and reflect it down to us, glowing with an electric, silvery blue light against the darkness of the night sky. They look like rippled water frozen in the air, or glowing spiderwebs made of diamond dust. They are the highest, coldest, and driest clouds on Earth. Silent sentinels that only reveal themselves when the rest of the world has gone dark. Visualizing these ethereal glowing filaments reminds us that even when we think the light is gone, it is often just higher up, waiting to be caught by something delicate enough to hold it. From the delicate atmosphere of Earth, we let our minds expand to the very fabric of the universe itself. We often think of space as empty, a void where things happen, but Einstein taught us that space is not empty. It is a fabric. It is a physical thing that can bend, twist, and ripple. Imagine a vast, invisible mattress stretching out in all directions, When you place a heavy object like a bowling ball on a mattress, it sinks down, creating a curve, a dimple in the fabric. This is exactly what a planet or a star does to space. The Earth sits in a gravity well, a comfortable depression in the fabric of the cosmos. The Moon orbits us not because it is being pulled by a rope, but because it is rolling along the curve we have made, like a marble rolling around the inside of a bowl. This visualization changes gravity from a force of pulling to a geometry of resting. The Sun creates a deep, heavy valley in the fabric, and the planets roll along its slopes. Feel the weight of your own body now, sinking into your mattress, and realize you're mimicking the stars. You're bending the world around you, settling into your own gravity well, creating a comfortable space that holds you simply by the virtue of your own weight. And because space is a fabric that can stretch, time itself must stretch with it. This is the phenomenon of time dilation. The heavier an object is, and the deeper it sinks into the mattress of space, the slower time moves near it. Gravity is a break on the clock. If you were to stand near the pyramids of Egypt, massive as they are, time would move infinitesimally slower for you than for someone floating in deep space. If you were to orbit close to a black hole, where the gravity is immense, a few hours for you might be decades for the rest of the universe. This means that the core of the Earth is technically younger than the crust. The basement of a skyscraper is a fraction of a nanosecond younger than the penthouse. Time is not a rigid marching soldier. It is a fluid river that slows down when it encounters deep pools of gravity. It meanders. Allow your own sense of time to experience this dilation. Imagine you are near something heavy and grounding, perhaps the Earth itself, and feel the second hand of the clock struggling to tick, slowing down, stretching out, until a single moment lasts long enough to rest in fully. We drift away from the heavy gravity wells now, out into the galaxy to find worlds that defy our understanding of physics, worlds that seem like riddles. We approach a planet named Gliese 436b. It is about the size of Neptune, and it orbits incredibly close to its red dwarf star. The surface temperature is nearly 900 degrees Fahrenheit, but this planet is covered in ice. It is a world of burning ice. How can this be? The gravity of the planet is so intense, the atmospheric pressure so crushing, that it forces the water molecules to stay solid even though they are scorching hot. They are pressed together into a state called Ice 7, a dense crystal structure that refuses to melt. Imagine a glacier that is glowing red with heat, steam rising from it in thick clouds, yet the ice remains solid, firm, and unyielding. It is a paradox of stability. It teaches us that under enough pressure we can hold ourselves together even in the fire. We can remain solid when the heat is rising. Visualizing this hot, solid ocean creates a sense of resilience, a knowledge that form can be maintained even in the most unlikely of environments. From the world of hot ice, we drift to a world of deep azure blue known as HD 89733b. From a distance, it looks like a calm, peaceful cousin of Earth, a blue marble floating in the dark. But the colour comes not from water, but from silicate particles, essentially glass, in its atmosphere. And on this world, the weather is a spectacle of terrifying beauty. The winds here blow at 4,000 miles per hour. This ferocious speed means that the rain does not fall down. It falls sideways. It is a planet where it rains glass, horizontally, in a ceaseless high-speed storm. But strip away the danger and look at the visual. It is a world of endless horizontal motion, a blur of blue. The light scattering through the glass rain creates a shimmering sapphire haze. It is a planet-sized kaleidoscope, constantly turning and shifting. In the safety of your mind's eye, watch the streams of blue light racing around the equator, a river of wind and crystal that wraps the planet in a ribbon of pure colour. It is a reminder that the universe is wilder than we can imagine, capable of creating jewels out of storms, painting the dark with the most violent and beautiful brushstrokes. Leaving the storms behind, we drift into the aftermath of a cosmic collision, a rare event known as a kilonova. This happens when two neutron stars, those super-dense city-sized spheres we spoke of earlier, spiral into one another and collide. The explosion is not just bright, it is a factory of alchemy. The heat and pressure of this collision are the only forces in the universe strong enough to forge the heaviest elements in the periodic table quickly. In the flash of that crash, massive clouds of pure gold, platinum and silver are instantly created and blasted out into the galaxy. A single kilonova can produce an amount of gold equal to 10 times the mass of the Earth. Think of the gold ring on a finger, or the silver in a necklace. That metal was not born in the Earth. It was born in the violent, beautiful death of two stars dancing together billions of years ago. It drifted through the void for eons, coalesced into a cloud, formed a planet, and was mined by human hands. You're wearing the debris of a stellar collision. It brings a sense of preciousness to the material world, a realization that the heavy, valuable things we hold are gifts from the deepest, most energetic moments of the universe. As we hold this gold in our minds, we look out at the stars that forged it and confront a profound mystery, the Great Silence. We have aimed our radio telescopes at the sky for decades, listening for a signal, a beep, a whisper from another civilization. We have heard nothing. This is often called the Fermi paradox. If the universe is so old and so full of stars, where is everyone? But tonight, we do not view this as a frightening emptiness. We view it as a peaceful solitude. Imagine living in a cabin in the middle of a vast snowy forest. You walk out onto the porch at night. There are no other lights on the hills. There is no sound of traffic, no neighbours, no noise. You are alone. This does not make you lonely. It makes you the steward of the silence. It gives you room to breathe. Perhaps the Earth is that cabin. We are the monks of the Milky Way, holding the candle of consciousness in a quiet cathedral. The silence of the universe is not a rejection. It is a privacy. It is a vast, open room where we are free to dream without interruption, safe in our solitude, protected by the distance. Finally, we turn our eyes back to our own home, but we view it from the perspective of an astronaut leaving for the moon. We experience the overview effect. As the spacecraft pulls away, the details of the Earth begin to vanish. The cities disappear. The borders between countries drawn with such anger and ink on our maps become invisible. The mountains flatten out. Soon, the Earth is just a sphere. It is a single, glowing system. You see the clouds moving in swirls that ignore national boundaries. You see the oceans as one single body of water. You see the thin, glowing line of the atmosphere shielding it all. In this view, there is no us and them. There is only us. The conflicts of the ground seem trivial, dissolved by distance. You realize that everyone you have ever loved, every human being who has ever lived out their drama on this one fragile blue dot. It creates a shift in consciousness, a feeling of overwhelming tenderness and unity. You're not a citizen of a country. You're a crewmate on a spaceship. Hold this image of the whole Earth in your mind, bright, blue and borderless, spinning silently in the dark, holding everyone safely in its lap, drifting through the eternal night. Holding that image of the borderless Earth, bright and blue in the silence, we allow ourselves to pull back even further. We retreat millions, then billions of miles into the deep dark, until the Earth is no longer a sphere, no longer a planet with clouds and oceans, but simply a tiny point of light. We are looking at the famous pale blue dot perspective, captured by the Voyager spacecraft as it turned around for one last look at home. From this distance, the Earth is smaller than a pixel. It appears as a single, fragile mote of dust suspended in a scattered ray of sunlight. There is a profound comfort in this smallness. All the noise, all the history, all the urgency of your life is contained within that tiny, glowing speck. Seen from the deep void, the Earth looks like a piece of diamond dust floating in a sunbeam in a quiet room. It reminds us that our worries, which feel so large and heavy when we're in the middle of them, are actually microscopic in the grand scale of things. This is not to say they don't matter. but rather that they do not need to weigh you down. The universe is holding the entire stage of human existence in a single beam of light. Allow yourself to become that speck. Feel the relief of being small, of being a tiny floating part of a much larger, quieter room. You're just a drift of dust in the golden light of the cosmos, weightless and free. As we gaze at this speck of light, we become aware that the space holding it is not static. It is trembling ever so slightly. We are sensing the passage of gravitational waves. These are the ripples in the fabric of space-time itself. When massive giants in the dark, like two black holes or neutron stars, dance and spiral into one another, they send shock waves moving outward at the speed of light. But these are not waves of water, they are waves of space. As a gravitational wave passes through the Earth and through you, it stretches and squeezes the very reality you occupy. For a fraction of a second, the distance between your atoms changes. The Earth becomes slightly taller, then slightly wider. These ripples are infinitesimally small, thousands of times smaller than the nucleus of an atom, but they are there. The universe is ringing like a bell. Imagine space not as a hard vacuum, but as a bowl of clear jelly. Even the slightest movement at the other end of the galaxy sends a shiver through the whole bowl. We are constantly being massaged by the movements of the stars. We are connected to the most violent events in the universe by these gentle, rhythmic shivers that pass through us without us ever knowing. A silent lullaby rocking the fabric of reality. And if we could hear the frequency of these cosmic movements, if we could translate the vibration of the universe into sound, we would hear a song. We drift now toward the Perseus galaxy cluster, where a supermassive black hole is singing a song of eternal depth. Astronomers have analysed the ripples in the gas surrounding this giant and discovered that it is emitting a sound wave. It is a constant, steady drone. The note is a B-flat, but it is not a note you could hear with your ears. It is 57 octaves below middle C. It is a sound so deep, so resonant, that its frequency is measured in millions of years. This is the deepest note ever detected in the universe. It is a cosmic Om, a foundational vibration that has been humming for billions of years. Imagine this sound not as noise, but as a vibration in the chest of the universe. It is a low, heavy purr, like the sound of a cat sleeping on a grand scale. It heats the gas around it, keeping the galaxy warm. Let your mind tune into this frequency, this eternal B-flat, feeling it as a grounding, stabilizing force. It is the baseline of existence, a steady, unbreakable rhythm that underpins the silence of the stars. While the black holes hum their deep songs, the rest of the galaxy is lit by the quiet, enduring patience of the red dwarfs. These are the most common stars in the universe, yet you cannot see a single one of them with the naked eye from Earth because they are so dim. They are small, cool stars, burning their fuel with incredible efficiency and slowness. Our sun will burn for 10 billion years. But a red dwarf can burn for trillions of years. They burn so slowly that they will outlast the current structure of the universe. Long after our sun has faded, and long after the bright blue giants have exploded, the red dwarfs will still be there, glowing like red embers in the dark. They are the tortoises of the cosmic race. They are in no hurry. They teach us the value of pacing oneself, of burning low and steady rather than bright and fast. Imagine a campfire that has died down to the coals, that warm, comforting red glow that lasts all night long. The universe is filled with these embers, billions of quiet, warm little hearths that are prepared to keep the dark at bay for an eternity. They are the guardians of the future, promising that the light will not go out for a long, long time. Drifting even lower on the scale of brightness, we encounter the ghosts of the stellar nursery, the brown dwarfs. These are objects that occupy the mysterious borderland between a planet and a star. They formed like stars, collapsing from a gas cloud, but they didn't have enough mass to ignite the fusion fires in their cores. They failed to become stars, but they are too warm to be planets. Because they do not burn with fusion, They do not shine with blinding white light. Instead, they glow with a dull, moody heat. If you could see one up close, it would likely appear in shades of deep magenta, violet, or a bruised dark red. They are warm to the touch, radiating the heat of their formation. Imagine floating near a world that is not a rock, but a giant sphere of warm purple velvet. It doesn't sting your eyes to look at it. It is a soft, bioluminescent presence in the void. These are the introverts of the galaxy, sitting quietly in the gap between the categories, comfortable in their ambiguity. They remind us that you don't have to be a blazing sun or a cold rock. You can be something in between, warm, dim, and uniquely beautiful in your own twilight way. From these stationary dim worlds, we turn our attention to the travellers that have broken all the rules, the hypervelocity stars. Most stars are content to orbit the centre of the galaxy in a polite circular path, like horses on a carousel. But occasionally a star will swing too close to the black hole at the centre of the galaxy and get kicked by gravity. These stars are flung outward at millions of miles per hour. They are moving so fast that they will eventually escape the Milky Way entirely. They are leaving home. They're sailing out into the immense empty void between the galaxies. While this might seem lonely, picture it as the ultimate freedom. They're breaking free of the gravity that has bound them since birth. They are the explorers, setting sail for the great unknown, leaving the crowded city of lights to find peace in the open country of the universe. There is a thrill in this trajectory, a sense of unburdened speed. Visualize yourself as one of these stars casting off the heavy chains of orbit, finding your own path and racing smoothly and silently into the deep, clear freedom of the intergalactic night. As we watch these travellers leave, we notice that the galaxy they are leaving is not just a flat disk. We often picture the Milky Way as a flat plate, but it is actually surrounded by a vast spherical cloud known as the galactic halo. This is a diffuse sphere of old stars and dark matter that envelops the main disk like a giant bubble. The stars here are the elders of the galaxy. They are ancient, formed before the spiral arms even took shape. They orbit in slow, lazy loops, far away from the bustling traffic of the galactic plane. This halo acts as a protective shell, a buffer zone between our home and the rest of the universe. It is the attic of the Milky Way, dusty and quiet, filled with the memories of the early universe. To float in the halo is to be above it all, looking down on the spiral galaxy from a great height. It creates a sense of perspective, like standing on a quiet hill overlooking a busy city at night. You are part of the structure, but you are removed from the chaos, resting in the spacious spherical embrace that holds the galaxy together. We turn our gaze now from the macro to the micro, realizing that the vastness of space is mirrored inside your own body. We drift into the world of the atom. Everything we have seen, the stars, the planets, the dust, is made of atoms, and atoms are composed of a nucleus surrounded by a cloud of electrons. But the distance between the nucleus and the electrons is vast. If the nucleus of an atom were the size of a marble sitting on the centre line of a football stadium, the electrons would be tiny gnats buzzing around the very top rows of the bleachers. Everything in between is empty space. This means that matter is 99% empty void. The chair you're sleeping on, the walls of your room, and even your own body are almost entirely made of emptiness held together by energy fields. You're not a solid, dense object. You're a cloud of energy, a cathedral of open space. The same silence that exists between the stars exists inside your fingertips. You're as spacious as the cosmos itself. Let this realization dissolve the feeling of heaviness in your body. You are light. You are airy. You're mostly made of the quiet, empty potential of the universe. And within this spaciousness, particles behave in ways that defy distance through a phenomenon known as quantum entanglement. This is the spooky action at a distance that baffled Einstein. When two particles interact in a certain way, they become linked. They share a destiny. Even if you separate them by billions of light years, placing one in your hand and the other on the edge of the visible universe, they remain connected. If you change the state of one, the other responds instantly, faster than light, instantaneously. Space and distance do not matter to them. They are one system, merely stretched out. This suggests that separation is an illusion. At a fundamental level, the universe is woven together by these invisible threads of connection. Nothing is truly alone. Everything that has ever touched is forever in a relationship. Feel the comfort of this entanglement, the knowledge that you are woven into the fabric of reality by bonds that distance cannot break. You are connected to the stars, to the earth, and to the people you love by a physics that transcends space itself. Finally, we let our minds drift beyond the stars, beyond the galaxy, and beyond the visible universe to the idea of the multiverse. Imagine a vast, eternal ocean of foam. Each bubble in this foam is an entire universe, floating gently alongside countless others. Our universe, with all its stars and galaxies and history, is just one shimmering bubble in this infinite bath. Some bubbles are large, some are small. In some, the laws of physics might be different. Gravity might be lighter, time might move backwards, or light might move slower. This theory transforms our reality from a lonely island into a crowded, bubbly sea of possibilities. It takes the pressure off. We do not have to be the only story being told. We are just one beautiful, iridescent sphere floating in a much larger wash of creation. Visualize these universes bumping gently against one another, drifting in a hyperspace beyond our comprehension. It is a playful, effervescent image. It suggests that existence is limitless, that there are infinite variations of the dream, and we are safe inside our own perfect bubble, drifting along the surface of the great cosmic deep, floating in this endless sea of bubbles, surrounded by the infinite possibilities of the multiverse. We decide to focus our attention back on our own reality, but we narrow our gaze to the smallest possible point. We drift back to the night sky of Earth, to a patch of darkness near the handle of the Big Dipper. To the naked eye, this spot is completely empty, a blank void in the tapestry of stars. If you were to pick up a single grain of sand and hold it at arm's length against the sky, that grain would cover this patch of nothingness. But when we opened the shutter of the Hubble Space Telescope and stared at this empty black spot for days, soaking up the faint photons from the deepest past, we did not find emptiness. We found the Hubble Ultra Deep Field. That tiny grain of sand patch of sky contains not one star, not 10 stars, but 10,000 entire galaxies. Each one contains billions of suns. Imagine the richness of this realization. There is no such thing as emptiness. Even the blankest, darkest corners of the night are teeming with spiral cities, glowing ellipses, and chaotic nurseries of light. It is a visual abundance that overwhelms the senses in the most comforting way. It tells us that we are surrounded by a universe that is incredibly full, that no matter where we look, if we look long enough and deep enough, we will find light. Let this image of the 10,000 galaxies hidden behind a grain of sand fill your mind with a sense of awe, expanding your inner horizon until the walls of your room dissolve into a gallery of infinite depth. From this vision of infinite abundance, we drift closer to a specific example of delicate order, returning to the rings of Saturn to witness a relationship of gentle guidance. We usually think of planetary rings as chaotic fields of debris tumbling wildly. But Saturn's F-ring, a thin, braided stream of ice, is kept in place by two tiny moons, Prometheus and Pandora. These are the shepherd moons. They do not orbit inside the ring, but on either side of it. One orbits just inside the icy stream, and the other just outside. Their gravity acts like a pair of invisible hands, or the herding instinct of a sheepdog. If a particle of ice drifts too far out, the outer moon gently pushes it back. If it drifts too far in, the inner moon speeds it up and nudges it back into line. They are the guardians of the ring, maintaining the perfect narrow path through the chaos. It is a celestial act of caretaking. Visualize these two silent sentinels orbiting forever in the twilight of Saturn, keeping the stream of ice distinct and beautiful, a reminder that even in the vastness of space, there are forces that hold things together, keeping the boundaries sharp and the beauty intact. We descend now, past the shepherd moons and past the rings, diving deep into the atmosphere of the ice giants, Neptune and Uranus. As we sink through the blue-green clouds, the pressure begins to build. We pass through storms the size of continents and enter the deep, mysterious mantle of the planet. Here, thousands of miles down, the pressure is so intense that it forces carbon atoms to crush together, stripping away their impurities and aligning them into the strongest crystal structure known to nature. On these worlds, it rains diamonds. But this is not a fast, pelting rain. In the thick, hot fluid of the planet's interior, these diamonds, some as small as sand, others perhaps as large as boulders, drift slowly downward like glittering snow. Imagine a dark, pressurized ocean where the snow is made of pure, uncut gems. They fall silently through the liquid mantle, settling toward the core, creating a layer of diamonds miles thick around the heart of the planet. It is a hidden treasure room that no human eye will ever see, a secret opulence buried under layers of blue gas. It suggests that deep inside the heavy, pressurized situations of the universe, something precious and unbreakable is being formed, falling slowly in the dark, gathering in a silent reserve of beauty. Leaving the hidden gems of the outer planets, we fly inward to look at the source of all the light in our system, the sun. But we look at it with new eyes, stripping away the filter of our atmosphere. From the surface of the Earth, the sun appears yellow, orange, or red. We draw it with yellow crayons. But this is an illusion caused by the nitrogen and oxygen in our air scattering the blue light, leaving the warmer colours to reach our eyes. In the true vacuum of space, if you were to float out and look at the sun with protected eyes, it is not yellow at all. It is a sphere of pure, blinding white. It emits all colours of the rainbow in equal amounts, which our eyes perceive as white. It is the colour of fresh snow, of a blank page, of absolute purity. This white light is the combination of every colour in existence, holding the potential for every shade of green in the grass and every shade of blue in the ocean. Realising the sun is white changes its character in our minds. It is not a fire burning with impurities, it is a perfect, clean, radiant lamp. Visualise that pure white sphere hanging in the black void, a beacon of clarity that contains the entire spectrum within it, dispensing the raw material of colour to the planets below. As we bask in this white light, we realise that the sun, solitary as it seems today, was not always alone. Stars are almost never born singly. They are born in litters, clustered together in the same nebula. 4.5 billion years ago, our sun was born alongside hundreds, perhaps thousands of siblings. They drifted together in a loose family for millions of years, mixing their light, sharing the same cradle of gas. But over time, the rotation of the galaxy and the tug of passing stars gently pulled this family apart. The siblings drifted away, scattering into the spiral arms of the Milky Way. They are still out there. Astronomers have identified a star named HD 1622826 in the constellation Hercules as a likely brother of our Sun. It was made of the exact same cloud, born at the exact same time. It is a quiet yellow-white star shining unnoticed in the night. There is a longing in this concept, but also a connection. We are not an only child. We are family lost in the crowd of the galaxy. Imagine the sun and this distant star separated by light years, yet sharing the same chemical DNA. Two sparks from the same ancient fire shining at each other across the lonely miles. And just as families scatter, entire galaxies can leave trails behind them as they move. We drift now to look at the shape of the Milky Way, not as a static disk, but as a consumer of history. We see the stellar streams. These are vast ribbons of stars that arch over and under the spiral arms of our galaxy. They are the ghosts of smaller dwarf galaxies that strayed too close to the Milky Way billions of years ago. our galaxy's gravity gently unraveled them, pulling them apart star by star, stretching them out into long, flowing rivers of light. The Arcturus stream is one such river, a group of stars moving together at a different speed and direction than the rest of the galaxy, a flowing current of immigrants. We are flowing through these ghosts right now. It transforms the galaxy from a solid object into a fluid one, a place of currents and eddies. It is a beautiful, melancholic image. The universe does not destroy the past. It stretches it out, preserving the memory of ancient galaxies as streams of stars flowing peacefully through the night, a river of memory within the ocean of the present. This flowing motion is not just for the streams, it applies to us too. We often think of the solar system orbiting the centre of the galaxy like a flat record on a turntable, but the movement is more like a carousel horse. As the Sun orbits the galactic centre, it also bobs up and down. We oscillate, rising above the flat plane of the galaxy and then diving below it. This gentle rhythmic wave takes about 60 million years to complete one cycle. We are currently near the central plane, moving upwards. This means our view of the universe changes over the eons. There are times when we are high above the dusty disk looking down at the spiral arms, and times when we are buried deep within the dust. We are riding a cosmic wave. Feel this motion in your body, not just the spin of the Earth or the orbit around the Sun, but the slow, majestic porpoising of the entire solar system. We are surfing the galactic disk. It is a rhythm so slow it feels like stillness, a rise and fall that marks the eras of geological time, rocking the Earth in a cradle of gravity. We drift back from the galaxy to a very specific, sharp sensory detail on our own moon. We spoke of the silence of the moon and the light of the moon, but what of the scent? The astronauts who walked on the lunar surface could not smell it while they were outside in their suits. But when they returned to the lunar module, repressurized the cabin, and took off their helmets, they noticed something distinct. The grey dust clinging to their suits had a smell. They described it as the smell of spent gunpowder. It smelled like a cap gun that had just been fired, or the scent of wet ashes in a fireplace. It is a sharp, metallic charcoal scent. This is the smell of a world that has been pulverized by micrometeoroids for billions of years, creating broken molecules that react instantly with the oxygen in the cabin. It is the scent of deep time, of burnt rock, of a place that has been sterilized by the vacuum. Imagine that scent, dry, dusty and acrid, a smell that is completely alien to the biology of Earth. It grounds the celestial experience in a physical reality. The moon is not just a light in the sky, it is a place of rock and dust and strange, ancient perfumes waiting in the silence. Leaving the dusty air of the lunar module, we cast our sensors out to the edge of the visible universe again, to the cosmic microwave background, that map of ancient static we visualized earlier. Most of this map is uniform, a smooth sea of background heat. But there is a mystery. In the southern hemisphere of the sky, there is a large region that is significantly cooler than the rest. It is known as the CMB cold spot. It is a vast anomaly, a chill in the cosmic air. Some cosmologists speculate that this could be a bruise on our universe. If we return to the idea of the multiverse bubbles, this cold spot might be the place where a neighbouring universe bumped into ours billions of years ago, leaving a cool imprint on the skin of our reality. It is a kiss from another dimension. It suggests that our universe has a texture, a history of contact. Visualize this vast, cool blue region on the map of the sky, a lingering memory of a cosmic collision that happened before the stars were born, a gentle reminder that even in the isolation of our bubble, we may have touched something else. Finally, we drift toward the most profound boundary in the universe, the event horizon of a black hole. We often fear black holes as monsters that eat everything, but from the perspective of relativity, they offer a strange form of immortality. If you were watching a clock fall into a black hole from a safe distance, you would see something incredible happen. As the clock gets closer to the edge, the gravity is so strong that it pulls on time itself. You would see the hands of the clock slow down, slower and slower. And just as it reaches the edge, the point of no return, the clock would appear to stop completely. To your eyes, the image of the clock would be frozen there on the edge of the darkness, preserved forever. It never truly crosses the line in your vision. It just fades to red and hangs there, suspended in an eternal now. The event horizon is not just a wall, it is a gallery. It keeps the image of everything that has ever touched it. It is a place where time decides to rest, where the ticking stops and where the moment stretches out into infinity. Let your mind rest on this edge, this place where the urgency of time dissolves, leaving only a still, fading image of the past, held safely on the rim of the deep velvet night. From that frozen edge of time where the clock stops, we turn inward for the final, most profound realization of our journey. We've travelled to the burning hearts of stars, floated through freezing voids, and drifted across diamond oceans. But the greatest wonder of the cosmos is not the supernova, nor the black hole, nor the galaxy spinning in the dark. It is the simple, quiet fact that you are aware of it. Consider the journey of the atoms that make up your eyes and your brain. 14 billion years ago, they were forged in the primordial fire of the Big Bang, drifting as simple hydrogen through the dark. They were gathered by gravity, crushed into stars and cooked for eons. They were blasted out into the void, drifting for millions of years more, until they coalesced into a small blue planet. They became rock, they became water, they became plants, and finally, they became you. This means that you are not a stranger in the universe. You're not a tiny observer looking up at a giant alien sky. You are the sky. You're the universe that has organized itself into a form that can see, feel, and wonder. When you look up at the stars, it is not a human looking at a star. It is the universe looking at itself. You are the aperture through which the cosmos explores its own glory. You are the way the universe knows it exists. Without you, the stars would still burn, but there would be no awe, no beauty, no poetry. You are the consciousness of the galaxy. The silence of the infinite spaces has woken up in you and learned to breathe. This realization dissolves the boundary between the dreamer and the dream. You belong here as much as the sun, as much as the moon. You're the ancient recycled stardust that has decided to rest for a moment, to close its eyes, and to dream of where it came from. You are the universe, finally home. And now, the journey circles back to the quiet room where you lie. We leave the swirling galaxies behind, letting them spin in their slow, silent rhythm without us. We leave the diamond rains and the blue sunsets, knowing they will continue their beautiful work in the dark. We descend gently, drifting down through the layers of the atmosphere, passing the auroras, passing the clouds, floating down like a leaf settling on a still pond. The vastness of the cosmos condenses, becoming smaller, warmer and softer, until it fits perfectly within the four walls of your sanctuary. Feel the heavy, comforting gravity of the earth claiming you once more. It is not a force pulling you down, but a mother holding you close. The bed beneath you is your own personal nebula, a cloud of support that rises to meet your weight. Your breath slows down, finding a rhythm that matches the slow, steady rotation of the planet. Inhale the quiet. Exhale the distance. There is nothing left to learn tonight. There is nothing left to see. The universe has told you its stories, and now it tucks you in with a blanket of night woven from the darkness between the stars. The stars themselves stand guard outside your window, billions of silent sentinels watching over your rest. They do not need your attention anymore. They only need you to sleep. Let your thoughts dissolve into the velvet black, scattering like the dust of a comet tail, fading into the peaceful nothingness. You are safe. You are held. You are infinite. The silence is deep and the peace is absolute. And now 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.